Right, we are streaming live. I just want to make sure that everybody can see everything and it looks all hunky-dory. Hello everyone who's waiting patiently. Let us know in the chat. I'm just checking my other screen, which is over here, which is why I'm looking over there, at the YouTube garbage that it spits out to make sure the stream's healthy. It says no data. Why does it say no data? It's stupid. Let us know if you can hear me in the chat, because we've got Eddie here and he says he can't hear me. And here's Eddie here. Hey everyone, hey everyone. Please tell us, okay, you're good, we can hear. Right, so the next thing I want to know is if you can hear the synths, because that's pretty important. Let's try making some sounds. Okay, tell me if you can hear that. Because then everything is good. We've just got to sort out Eddie, that one. Okay, we're going to sort him out. And yep, good, good. Right, I'm just going to go to me. I've got Eddie on the other screen so I can see him if I need to. How's everyone been? It's been a couple of weeks. Isn't that fantastic? Yeah, it wasn't interesting last week where that gentleman that we just saw a couple of seconds ago did the other show. So I thought that was very interesting. Let's get chatties up, saying hello to chatties. My ugly mug in the corner. Let's say hello to everyone. I missed you guys. I really did. It was nice having a week off, but I did miss doing the show, and of course I always miss doing the show. I think Synthetic's going to join us a little bit soon. Eddie, can you tell? You can hear me, right? Just let us know if you can hear me vocally.
Yeah, but I'm hearing you from the. I changed the driver.
Right.
Not on my headphones, but on my speakers. That's why you might be getting in my microphone at the minute.
Okay.
Sort that out.
Your end is fine, so don't break that. But you need to sort out the hearing side.
You like it like that?
I do. It sounds good. We'll sort out your mic in a sec. Let me just say hello to all the chatties anyway while we're here. Okay, we've got JX3D. Well, I mean, we've got Synthetic, F-Rose, and JX3D. And also we had Kent and a whole bunch of other guys like, there was a whole bunch of other guys who were on last week's stream. It was amazing to watch. I didn't get to watch it live, unfortunately, but I did watch on the replay. So thank you everyone for doing that and keeping the love going. That was awesome. Hello to the channel members like JX3D, of course, Keith in Watford, and also the, what do you call it, Patreons. But also we're saying hello to Wagoo, Prometheus, Corrosive Abuser, Martin Taylor, Mac, big hello to you. Who else have we got? X101, Evening. A few people jumping in. ASDO Head, hello Bert, good to see you mate. All the regulars, Ken Lewis, very, very good to see all of you guys. As we start to sort of burgen into your Saturday. Now for me, it's about 8 p.m. here in Western Australia, and it's probably about 1 p.m. in the UK and 2 p.m. in Europe, and God knows what godly, ungodly hour it is over in the US. It's probably something like 8 or 9 a.m. on the East Coast and something stupidly early on the West Coast.
Synthetic should be there. Look for him.
Yeah, he'll be here. Sergio's joined us from South America, which is amazing. It must be extremely early down there.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, Ranzee is in the future, says Ken Lewis. That is true. When you do travel to Australia and you go via New Zealand or those sort of places, you do tend to travel in the future, but you do lose it on the way back, which kind of sucks. Right. Get rid of me. Boom. Go to here. Hello, Eddie. Nice to see you, mate. Once again, thanks, awesome for the show last week that you put on. It must have been an absolute treacherous affair trying to. I mean, these shows when you put them together, they aren't easy. Now you know what it's like putting a show together. Tell us, feed us back. How difficult is it to put these shows together?
Let me talk in JX and myself name, saying that we're not worthy. We're definitely not worthy. We had no freaking idea how nerve-wracking is to do this thing as good as you do it. So we said, okay, we're never gonna match it. So let's just do it our way, and Godspeed and God bless us, and let's brace for the bumps.
Your way was fine.
As I said, oh, thank you very much. You're too kind. As I said in the show, one of my targets putting that live stream together was to show this lovely community that it's not easy, and all the humongous trouble you go week after week after week after week to make this show looking effortless when it's definitely not. So thank you very much, and we'll hear for you.
Oh, mate, that was so nice of you to say. Look, it's not.
My pleasure.
Probably not as hard as you're making it out to me, but you do
practice
get
helps,
used to it. Practice does help. You do get used to it. But you're right. There is a lot of hours that go into preparing for the show. I've got a kind of routine set now, so I have to work like during the week. Every single day, I'm putting little snippets here and there towards the show every single day. But
exactly.
I've made it so that it's reasonably effortless to do that. I've got sort of scripting and programming and stuff that I've put in place to make this stream easy to do. But even still, saying that, there's always technical issues. There's always issues. No matter what you plan for, there's like earlier this year we had issues with my internet service provider, which wasn't really their fault. It was probably a cable's fault, but who knows? And we've had issues with software. We've had issues with, you name it, audio drivers. There's always something that will trip you up. But cross fingers, and touch heads, exactly. All that sort of stuff. It's all going to go well today. Yeah. Look, there's only a small early crew, so that's cool. But why don't we have a bit of fun talking about? I thought today we'll start. Normally we talk about some sort of topic, and I don't know. Like I kind of feel we should start talking about why we like certain sounds. Like why do we like, for example, why do we like the ARP sound? A lot of people talk about the Moog sound, don't they? They all talk about the Moog sound, but not as many people talk about the ARP sound. And I'm not saying no one talks about the ARP sound, because there's a hell of a lot of people that do talk about the ARP sound, but it does have a definite sound that you could recognize in music and albums. And I kind of want to talk about it. At the same time, I want to play with ARPs.
Me too.
I don't actually have any original ARPs here, so I do apologize. If anyone is really upset by that, please just throw your synth at the screen in disgust, because that's just not on. We can't be clickbaiting people and tricking them into stuff. But guess what? If you want to send me some money so that I can buy an original ARP synthesizer, I'm more than happy to show it on this show. Absolutely, just go for it. What I do have is I have a couple of cloney type ARP things. One of them I've had since 2015. So made by Korg, which is the Odyssey. And I've got that over in the back corner. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a look at some of the ARP stuff I've got. So we'll start with this one. This is the Behringer 2600, which you've also got behind you, Eddie. You've got the Blue Marvin version. Yep. I've just got the plain black one. Yep. It looks a little bit blue because I've got an LED light over it just on the other. You can actually see it. You can see just behind my head, just there. There's the LED light, and over in the corner is the ARP, right? That's where the ARP is, right there. That's what we were just looking at. So we're gonna use our magical. Just look above my head. You can see like this camera sticking above my head, right? We are going to move. Watch this camera move. We're going to move the little camera. You can see him.
You got the toys
moving around. Look at that. And I'm using an Xbox controller.
Exactly. That's what gives me the biggest kick.
It's so cool. So while I'm moving, I'm just proving to you that I'm moving it. There is the other ARP. This is my first ARP clone that I've ever owned, and I was so grateful for Korg to bring this baby out. It's the CARP Odyssey, people begrudgingly call it. It's an 80% version of the size of the original ARP Odyssey. I kind of like that because they're pretty big, the ARP Odysseys, and I don't mind it being a little bit skinnier. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah.
But I think I've got it. If we're lucky, I think we can actually have a listen to this. So don't expect me to be Herbie Hancock here, because he absolutely owned the ARP Odyssey. And he goes, big hello to Herbie if he's ever watching. But yeah.
Rant.
Yeah.
Just because I'm probably obsessive compulsive, and because you have the big an example of the 3 steps I understand ARP Odyssey, would it be nice to go from the oldest to the newest?
Oh, you want to go to bed? You want to go? Okay, you want to go the other way? All right,
26,
we can do that.
25, 26.
Well, technically, it's not the oldest. Technically, that's the oldest in my studio because that's when I bought it. No, I know what you're saying.
No. I mean,
in terms of who released what first, yeah. You're talking about
the sound evolved.
You're talking about this sound first. Okay, so these are definitely not the original 2500s.
No.
This is a Behringer remake, Eurorack version. They've done a really, really good job. I've talked about these time and time again on my channel. Yeah, you're more than welcome to have a listen to this. There is a bit of effects going on with this though, so we can, we can muck around with sounds and stuff, but I've got 2 oscillators now. I recently got the second one, bought the second one in.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can see, on the Mordax data, you can see one oscillator is inverted to the other. See how, so you've got voltage high, voltage low. And the reason why I've done that is because they don't compete with each other. You can actually see by the switches here, right? So that switch is to the left and this switch is to the right. So when we listen to it, we can get, some filtering sounds.
I love the clarity that ARP usually has. And the 2500 is more.
So that's 2 oscillators. Now I can obviously back one of them off, so we can just listen to the one. And we can back the other one off. So you can listen to separate oscillators. One of the things I love about the Filter Amp module, when the 2500 was built, they built it so that you were going to have multiple oscillators and multiple inputs. So this field amp always had the 2 inputs. These oscillators always had the 2 outputs, right? And they made it so that no matter how you did it, you could plumb the whole thing so that it would actually output to a left and right stereo sort of thing, which I think is an absolute genius. And this is going back all the way back right to the early 70s, right? So even potentially even earlier when they designed it. Now Brooksy's just arrived.
Hello.
So let's get everyone up on this screen here. Let's get everyone up here. Sorry, I always have to change this, but it's worth it. It's worth the wait. So who are we going to put first? Bottom left-hand corner, we'll put Darren. No, that's Brooksy usually there, isn't it? Brooksy is not there. Where's he? He's there. That's not Brooksy. That's his title.
That's the one.
That's him. There he is. Hey! Now, we are going to go... Who's here? Sorry, I have to click on a million things here.
You're right, Brooks?
You know what? We're going to have to...
Can you tell me?
We're going to have to change some stuff here because...
I can hear you.
I can hear you, Brooksy.
Andrew, I can hear you.
You can hear this all right? Is it coming through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, tap on it.
And it is this?
Yeah, it's that.
Yep.
Right, okay. Just because
That's the
there's
one.
been a few issues.
Let's just test.
Right,
Okay.
Full screen. Yep, that's working.
right. Yeah, hello. Okay, hi everyone.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right. Now we're still waiting on 2 other guests. Now I might have to do the six up today. Let's do the 6 up.
Ooh,
Ooh, heck.
fancy.
Busy.
Right. How we go? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's all ready to rock and roll. The 6 up. Okay, cool. So the other 2 spots that way, but on the other side of my hand there, it will be for Darren and Andy, Synth Addict, when they come.
Synthetic
Okay.
joiner, is he? Coolio.
Yeah. We're trying to have many people today. All right, so where were we? We're talking about the 2500, right? So the 2500 was, and you can't see it here because this is a Eurorack version, but it had a whole bunch of, matrix sort of switches and stuff in it. And it was kind of really, it was a thing of beauty. I'm going to get a photo up so you guys can have a look. It was an absolute thing of beauty, I thought, anyway. I used to lust after looking at those things. I remember when guys like Jean-Michel Jarre and artists like that brought those things out onto stage, and you just saw it and you just thought to yourself, what the hell is this thing? It's an absolute fantastic looking thing. So this is the photo that's in the brochure, the original art brochure. So if you guys have never seen the 20, I mean, that's the Eurorack version, but this is the 2021 version, I guess you'd call it, because it came out last year. And this is the, the 1970 version. So the top and the bottom is the matrix, right? Yep. So they're all basically, every single one of those columns where you've got those switches in them have got lines that hook up to something on the modules which go across the middle. It's a genius setup. And I'll just show you guys just a sort of closer
And the
view.
models have arrows to point at them.
So you can see as a closer view there, you can see the matrix just below, you
Yeah.
can see the modules just above, right? So you can see how the arrows, like you said, Eddie, they point at all the different functions and that. And I loved how it had colourful knobs on it as well, because that meant that you had muscle memory and visual memory while you're using it. And I personally believe in visual memory as well as muscle memory when you're playing with gear.
Rant,
But yeah.
the same way that people were developing pop-out panels to plug the Behringer modules if you want to go to Eurorack or if you want to case them on a different case so you can have the connection stuff. I don't think you've heard of anybody who's developing a matrix, a patching matrix for the Behringer modules, don't you?
No, and I don't think they need to, because obviously you've got.
I know they don't need to.
The patch cables and
but
that.
how cool? Yeah, but how cool could it be to get a tiny version of it with probably? I mean, I understand that making the whole mechanical system, it might be more expensive than the modules itself, but some kind of press button or something that looks
it'll
like
just be
even digital.
It'll just be a wiring gate array basically. So you're just connecting wire from wire. It's a routing thing basically. But I think what you've got to look at is what the purpose of the matrix does, and does the CV inputs and outputs solve that purpose? And if it does, there's probably no need for them to build it. But I understand what you're saying from a romantic point of view. Yeah,
it's just would be cool. It's the same thing that people has done for the barbs, have done cases that look like the ARP, the 2600 case, just for, I don't know, feeling pretty sake, not for functional sake.
A couple of other things that a lot of people don't realize about the 2500 is they still to this day, they've still got functions on them that really, I'm surprised no one's really implemented it. Like, for example, I love the way these oscillators are laid out. So there's actually a couple of different oscillators that they built. This one is modeled after the 1004, obviously, but there were different models. There was a 1004 T and 1004P. There was a 1023, and I'll show you guys pictures of these because actually are really quite interesting. So what do we got here? This one coming up. So this one here is the 1004P. Okay, and you can see just to the left of it what the Behringer have modelled theirs after, and you'll see it in a sec. But that's different, right? So you can't see any switches. They've got switches here, but the one shown there on the P model, it doesn't. But there's things in the P model that they've used in this. But let me show you the next one, which is the T model. And you can see they've definitely modelled the 1004 because they've got the switch. You could see the white switches on that drawing, on that photo there, and they've got the switches here. So that's where the modelling's come from. And they had different versions. They also had the 1023, which is this one, even different again.
Whoa!
What's different about it? It has 2 oscillators in it. Behringer, if you're listening, if you ever do watch my videos, which I don't think you do, please make this. This is a dual oscillator, right? So that's basically, that one module there is basically those 2 modules combined into one. The only thing that I guess that's negative about this is it doesn't have the switchable inverted waveforms like you've got here. Okay. You've only just got the dial. You can see it's right in the middle where you can switch between waveforms. And the tuning is kind of a cool double sort of barreled potentiometer. See how it's got the coarse and fine tuning.
And that's where my attention is going to. Wouldn't be those parts almost as expensive to get as the whole module?
No. Double barreled potentiometers are pretty common in different forms of electronic. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so what I love about it is you can actually switch all of these on. You can have every single friggin' waveform all turned on at the same time. And it's outputting right now. You can see that's the top one is outputting a mix of all these waveforms, right? You can mix negative, inversed, if you want to call it, and you can mix waveforms. Look at the different. What I'll do is I'll just turn the bottom waveform off so we can see that on its own. Oops, wrong one. Where's off there? Sorry. Okay, and we'll go to here and we'll make this. We'll go down. Put this in the middle so we can see it nicely, and then we will go. Oops. Yeah, let's go there, and then move it down a little bit more.
Okay, I want to hear how that sounds like.
You want to hear it? All right, so that will be
yes,
in A. All right, let's get filter open. Let's full sustain. I've got so many effects going on at the moment, it's not funny. It's probably going to be too hard for me to turn all that off. But let's play around with the sounds while we...
It's modulating.
Modulation's coming from one of the effects, sorry. I need to turn it off.
Sorry. Okay.
How do I get the sound out of this baby? Okay. We will go straight into a raw
You might want to pull the
channel,
trigger a little higher.
and I'll turn all the effects off. So there's no effects going now. This is what you're hearing is the raw sound. I kind of feel like I need to move that. Oops, wrong one.
Yeah.
So you can start with just some basic like sine.
Okay.
And then you can add
it's really
like,
rich and
let's
full.
let's add to the sine by inverting a square. Look at that.
Wow.
The thing has got such a bottom end on it. It's not,
gnarly.
it is not funny. Anyway, so you can mix your waveforms together, which is, it's insane how you can mix it. I think probably, I don't know about you, Brooksy, but I reckon one kind of step forward to that, and it would be kind of almost the ultimate oscillator, would be the ability to actually have a potentiometer to blend each of them. And actually, when you're blending them, you're sort of attenuating the level, and then as you go across, you're sort of attenuating them into the negative, like on a maths module. Do you know what I mean? So you're going from so instead of a switch,
about that, I'm sure that's isn't that a through zero oscillator?
That's a through zero oscillator,
which will definitely,
yeah,
which will blend through different waveforms too. I'm not, oh my word, which ones are there? I'd have to think about that.
Yeah,
just out of interest, I sent you a picture that I took at. Sorry, I sent you 3 pictures, but 2 of them are from the Colossus from the Synthfest. I thought they were the ARP, but they're not. Jean-Michel Jarre's ARP 2500, which was actually his machine, which was at the exhibition at the London Design Museum a couple of years ago. It was called From Kraftwerk to Chemical Brothers. So I went there with my brother. It was during that brief respite we had between the lockdowns.
Oh, yes.
And,
yeah.
So yeah, it's not the world's greatest photo because it was really dark in there, but my phone's pretty shitty. So yeah. So that's actually Jean-Michel Jarre's 2600.
Nice that he's got some Eurorack in the background too.
Now that might I don't know if that's in the same display case or it may well be, but within that display there was also the eminent organ. There was the strings thing. There were quite a few other bits and bobs in that thing, which was Jean-Michel Jarre's. When you can even see the little glasses, you can see Jean-Michel Jarre wearing those little glasses.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting because that's these bits that were in there. It could be any 2500, couldn't it? But I say any. There was about 150 of them, aren't there? But it's that was his. So I thought that was worth.
We don't even know if that's even true either. Yeah.
That one is having the 1004T and 2 of the other type you told me. You told just now.
Yeah. So you've got actually I could zoom in. I don't know if I can do it on there.
Then the sequencer, the switcher, which I don't know what actually does.
Yeah, so he's got 2 of the 23s. So if you look at it, the first oscillator is the T type on the left, on the far left, and then he's got 2 1023s, which are the dual oscillators. And then next to that is the it's like the mixer thing.
Okay.
Then he's got the. It's so hard to see because I just can't see their envelope generators and filter amp. Then he's got the mod amp. He's got the noise generation module.
Okay. Is that a filter bank? The one with so many ports and 4 outputs?
The one that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, no,
I think it's 6 in from the left is the filter amp. I'm pretty sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
Just to the right of it, it's got like a module which has got kind of like three or 4 white lights vertical. Just to the left of it is the filter amp. Anyway, identifying modules when you can't see jack shit.
The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 from the left, or 1, 2, 3. The one where the pots are arranged sort of offset from each other. Yep. I think that's the sequencer or the sequential mixer, isn't it?
That's a sequential mixer, yeah. And then to the right of it is the the right of it is the mod amp, which is the ring modulator. So you've got the two buttons, the two white buttons in the middle.
Yep.
So Behringer have remade most of those modules.
Obviously, they did the ones that they thought they would sell the most.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, what ones do I actually have that I can show you guys? Let me just bring this up. How come we're not seeing anything? Because that's there. All right, cool. Yeah, I've got quite a lot here. I haven't got all of them, though. So...
What you missing? What are you missing?
I don't know if I've got them in boxes or what. Let's have a look what's in boxes here. All right. I'll completely destroy my drawer of modules. It was all nice and neat.
No, it's not. It's there, just still there, just messy. There.
Yeah. It might be the other drawer.
Just let me say, please, guys in the chat, you know me. I can't read and be in the show at the same time, so sorry. Plus, if I start typing, you're gonna get this. So,
okay, really what's this one? All right.
Come on, Eddie, get a grip. All you need is the pop-out chat.
So I haven't got any. I haven't gone anywhere near.
My incapability is with the pop-out shout. Otherwise, it's pretty dope.
All right.
Yeah.
I've still got probably about 4 or 5 of these to get. That's the.
Okay.
That's the dual random noise voltage generator module.
I got a question about noise.
It's all about the art of noise.
It is.
That's the mod amp. So we were talking about that just before. See how it's got the 2 white buttons? So this is basically a ring modulator.
Okay.
So that's the mod amp. I can just rest them on here. Should be okay. What else have we got? There's another envelope generator. So that's slightly different to the one that I've got in there. It just lacks the delay. So it's, instead of it having 5 knobs, I'll show you in a second. When I've got, I need 6 arms. If I move that out the way, you can see the one to the right of it has an extra control here where you can actually set a gate delay, right? But other than that, they're both identical. They're both envelope generators. So there's that.
So they could make like a slab back, one envelope, and milliseconds later the other envelope.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
What else we got? This is the insane filter, and when I've had this on the show before, this filter is probably one of the most resonant filters I've ever heard. It's insanely resonant, and yeah, you can get that thing to probably attract every single known dog in the neighborhood.
And bat. Is that the one you can ping?
Yeah. It's got a it's got something on it. Hang on, I think there's another module here somewhere, but I just can't find it. The only ones that I don't have is the sequencer type ones, and the reason for that is I don't know if I need them. I mean, it's nice to have them. I mean, it's a bit like Matchbox cars or Hot Wheels cars. You collect them all, right? But do you really need them? Is the question.
No.
There's one thing about the sequencer
the
sequencer is different to the original, which has annoyed me, and that's probably why I'm not going to get it. Because I think the original sequencer had 10 steps, and I think the Behringer version had 8. And someone in the chat can tell me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And that sort of stuff annoys me. So if you're going to recreate something faithfully, leaving 2 steps out, because that makes it very interesting, having 10 steps, right? How many sequences do you know have 10 steps? Not many, probably.
Plus you can do 5.
The Bucklers did 5, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I wonder why 5s. And how they did circuit-wise 5, because obviously 8 is a multiple of 2. So it's just 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, but 5, 10 is a multiple of 2.
Because Dumbuckle was weird.
Yeah, but we just saw the ARP where it's weird as well.
Morton Subotnick probably said, no, I don't want 4s. 4s are boring. I don't want 4. Put 5 on it.
Yeah, so there's the Behringer one there, right? So you can clearly see that that's 8.
It's 3/8, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, so that's the Behringer one there. And then this is
Can you bring up the ARP
Yeah,
one?
I will. Yeah. I'm all sorted here. And there's the original ARP. And it's got 10. 2, 4, 6,
sequencer.
8, 10. I wasn't going mad.
But it's 3 rows of 10, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll just go back to that.
6
3 rows of 8.
less.
Yeah, technically. So I just don't understand why they didn't give that.
It may have been
Space,
just
money,
aesthetics.
budget.
Or...
What are they saying in the chat? I actually haven't even looked at the chat. I do apologise.
I mean, you can always use just 8 of them instead of 10. So let's go.
Oh, Andy, you sound weird.
Yeah, Andy, you sound
big
like
voice
you're
is on.
about to make us join some cult.
Sorry, stupid effect on the back.
Yeah, it's done.
Hey.
Good.
We're
nice
saying
question.
You just like any sequencer, you just use what you need. You only use 8. You don't have to use all 10. So
We're saying you should get the
Yeah, but it's good if they give it to you.
1047K module. I do want to get that, Wagoo.
Excuse me.
I do want to get the 1047K. Anyway,
So,
we're talking about
question.
sound. So, but sound, we're talking about sound, right? But one of the things is when you're looking at what those modules do, that's what creates the sound. So I've just pulled out a whole bunch of other modules to go into my 2500 stuff. They are all going to contribute to the sound. So yeah, you won't be able to hear them because I'm going to plugged in, but there's only so much room on an empty case.
yes.
Why don't we? Oh, geez. Why don't we add an oscillator in?
Gnarly.
Did I knock that out of tuning? Did I? Probably. That is very loud. Why don't we turn this baby back on so we can see it? And then we can go into tuning here.
Yeah, that the wave above, I don't know if it's sounds good or not, but it's pretty.
Let's do.
Yeah, this is good because it's good to know how easy it is to tune them. I sweat tears with it.
Almost.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's lovely.
Plenty.
Yeah. So there's your two oscillators beating together. Now you'll notice that I've got one, normal and then one inverted.
Mm-hmm.
If I do this, watch what happens. If I have them both normal.
Phase cancelling.
I get some really weird phasing stuff happening on it, and it's quite obvious why that happens because we're playing around with different waveforms. So, like I was saying before, this stuff is is nerd synthesis dreams, right? That's what this stuff is. You really do have so much power at your fingertips, and it's one of the reasons why I say this is why we love the ARP sound. It's not just the ARP sound, and we love the way that ARP invented ways for us to access the sounds, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. All right, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, but that are you meaning that, for instance, okay, I don't know how earlier, but I understand that Moog started selling their units slightly earlier than ARP. They're selling the 2500. So were Moog more limited, the Moog modular big cases more limited than the first 2500?
So one thing that ARP had over Moog was these oscillators, the 1004, were the most stable oscillators out there on the market at the time. The tuning on them maintained their tune. So I accidentally knocked the tuning before, but I can tell you that Behringer have done a really good job in making sure that they have very similar circuitry to the original, because they use the AM Synth Guy to do this. They do hold their tuning. These do hold their tuning. So if you do, unless you knock the tuning about it, but they do warm up. So you wait 10, 15 minutes for them to warm up and then tune them, and they stay in tune. Whereas the Moogs drifted. The Moogs had it like back in the you know, the late 60s, early 70s, the big Moog, you know, system, those big modular systems, they tended to drift, and it did annoy people. It did annoy people.
Duh. Even more if you want to make a gig with them, having to retune a synthesizer every 3 songs.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the world of Eurorack.
Honestly, that was me when I was gigging live in the 90s with the Pro One behind me and the SH101. The reason I bought a bass station rack, which is now dead, was because it was stable, and I just needed to make sure. Whereas to be fair, the SH101 was stable. But the Pro One was just most of the time leave it on and sitting in here, and it was absolutely fine. But you take it into different into a nightclub where the temperature is going to vary from cold before the people come in, and then hot and sweaty when it's full of people. Then you've got the condensation dripping off the bloody ceiling and all that stuff. And there were some nights when it was just impossible. It was just all over the place, you know. So, and what I was going to say, it's actually interesting about. Can I come back to you on that, Eddie? Because I was going to mention about what you were saying about tuning and ARP. Behringer doing a good job of replicating the tuning stability of the ARP oscillators, because they did an extremely good job of replicating the instability of Moog oscillators in the D. Because the D is the D day is all over the bloody place. You know,
it's supposed to be that.
That also drifts. Yeah, absolutely. It drifts. It really does drift all the time. So you're forever having to reset. So that makes the Model D a pain in the bum, really, because you think, oh, it's gone off on one now.
Yep.
So
it is still fully replicated.
Yes, we've seen that famous Jean-Michel Jarre clip with the memory Moog drifting during the concert.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and they were getting angry. I like that. That was brilliant. They were getting angry. So. So be it.
Honestly,
you know,
I need an excuse not to buy it.
What about this thing, guys? I know
it's going to happen.
I know this isn't the original 2600. I know it's not. Please, you know, calm down, okay? All you big fanboys of ARP, calm down.
Breathe in, breathe out.
If you had any sort of sensibility about yourself, you would know this thing does sound pretty bloody close. And once again, the same guy, AM Synth Guy, he was instrumental in helping Behringer produce this. So, a couple of things about this. The Behringer version is actually really cool because it's rack mounted. That means that you can chuck it in your rack. You can put it on. This thing's a little desktop rack stand, which is what a lot of people have got. Eddie's got. If we go to a shot of Eddie's got the Blue Marvin version, and he's got one of these cases that you just pop out the rack, and then you can pop it back in again and close the lid, and you know, it's like a flight case.
Want me to show you?
No, we can say it. That's good. All good. Yeah. So that's one of the beauties of this. And when you look at this, they actually look quite big, but they're not really that big. When you think about it, I don't know. I kind of think like we were talking before about learning from synths. Are you going to do that again? Sorry, do that again, Eddie. Do that, Eddie. Do that again. He hasn't got his headphones. Eddie, do that again. There you go. So that's his little flight case thing. So yeah, ARP used these to educate people, which I think was, you know, quite genius. And one of the things that the 2600 did is obviously improved on the complexity. Like if we go back to the original design of the 2500, this thing is very, very complicated to probably a lot of musicians. There's only a certain amount of musicians that were able to sort of conquer these. They didn't sell a lot either, probably because of the complexity. Whereas if you look at this, they've done a really good job of simplifying this. at the same time, they've kept some of the, the original 2500 characteristics in this and then added to it as well. The way that this is internally patched means that you can see I don't have any patch cables on this whatsoever right now. And let me just turn this on in my... Sorry, I'm keep clicking on my glass. Ding, ding, ding. Where is it? Up, 2600. Turn that off. Okay, here we go. You guys can hear that, right?
Sorry.
That is the 2600 from me. Not the greatest patch in the world. But I just wanted to show just 3 oscillators. Sort of beating
that's
against
one of
each
the
other.
improvements, right? The original had 3 audio oscillators and 1 LFO, right?
One F, yeah, yep. So, I mean, I don't want to really get into the Behringer differences and that sort of stuff right now. What we want to talk about is basically what makes this thing so good, and I think probably just right off the cab, the fact that it's got 3 oscillators, the fact that you could FM control them, the fact that you can add ring mod. There was envelope follower. There's sample and hold, noise generator, really, really good ADSR and AR envelope generators in
External
there.
input.
A whole bunch of extra stuff, like you could plug your guitar into it, all that sort of stuff going on. It's just a really very, very useful synth. When you think about when this thing came out, it was, early to mid 70s when this thing came out. So very, very useful synth. And I don't know if you guys want to add to your why you love the 2600. I think it's a good thing to start with.
Who has one?
Yeah, I was using VST versions for a long time because I couldn't afford the hardware. But it's very versatile. As David Friend said in some interviews, they basically took the most common stuff they saw people doing with the 2500 and distilled it down to the 2600, and simplified it, and still gave you lots of patching possibilities and stuff. But that they learned pretty quickly that a lot of, like you were saying, a lot it's over the top for most people. They can't. It's hard enough for them to master the pin matrix idea as it is, even though it's supposed to be a visual thing you can follow instead of having the wires everywhere. But it's they just through it, talking to people and stuff, they decided to distill it down, and it was a great idea. I mean, I actually going to get one probably later this year. One of the BARP ones, just because I'm not made of money, but
yeah, of course. Fantastic.
So, Brooks has one? No.
Oh no, I don't.
Oh, and
no, not yet.
And Darren's not in, so I guess it's my turn.
All right.
So, what I first of all, to me, what I loved about the concept, being a guitar player, trying to get into synthesizers, trying to first learn about MIDI, then learn about how to make patches and sounds, learning about the history of the brands and models available, and suddenly this coming to the market, I went like, wow, okay, this is one I can understand because I can see what's going on. Everything is silk screen on the top. It's telling you exactly, because another option would be, I don't know, a Korg MS-20 clone or anything or similar. And the sounds I heard from it, plus the trivia I heard, because stupid aficionado to sci-fi as I am, the minute I heard the 2500 is the sound of Klaus Encounters and Third Kind, I said, okay, so I need an ARP, any kind of ARP, as close as I can get through my budget. But it's so much things in this particular one, in the 2500, in one case, so many synth creating tools that it got me sold out. Is like, okay, no other synthesizer commercial apart from the big chunky modular monsters can give me the sample and hold plus the voltage processor plus the ring modulator plus external input like, Pete Townsend did for his songs. When I learned that, I went like, oh yes, that's what I want. I want the envelope follower. I want to be, even if it's not the same dynamics, because, and shame on me, I still had no time to do a real test to it, to plug the guitar and try to trigger it through the envelope follower. But the amplifier, just the section of the signal amplifier, because I assume they thought about guitars, which is the smallest guitars, and or microphones, which is the smallest signal electrical you could do back in the 70s. So they thought, oh well, if they plug anything like this straight on it, they're gonna need to amplify it a ton in order to get to synthesize the voltage levels to CV levels, and it's included. Plus the fact that the Behringer changed that third oscillator LFO for also an audio rate gives me the chance of putting together the system I will be putting as soon as money permits, which is basically a 3-voice analog synthesizer. I just need more envelopes and more VCAs. and I love the sound. Every time I listen to the Moog sound, I understand the oomph, I understand the gnarly, I understand the tear down brick walls kind of vibration. But the complexity of the waves to me, and I know I'm going to get very unpopular again, I must be the most unpopular YouTuber on the net, they sound flat. Sorry, Brooks. I understand. I understand the mighty sheer of the power of the Moog. Yeah, and as I put on the Discord, we all Moog songs of Moog. And
I think you might be onto
problem is,
something there.
I already
really do.
I already have that type of oomph through my guitar with distortion.
Can we pause you for a second, there? Because I think before we lose this point, I think this could actually be a very valid point. Who in the chat and who here on the video calls thinks that maybe Moog is better for the filter and ARP is better for the oscillator? Ooh, we might be onto something here.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
Let us know. Let us know what you think. I think Eddie's definitely made a very good point there. But you can continue. Yeah, go.
Yeah, and because of that harmonic richness I hear on the ARP products, that to my other love in synthesis, which is, sorry, take a drink, FM synthesis. It's the overtones, is what happens after the attack, is what resonates in my brain through my ears. I find it soul-filling.
Yeah.
When Moog to me is basically what I've done half of my life. It's a distortion guitar, it's heavy metal.
Yeah. You're basically saying that you're basically saying you like a bit of tail. That's what you're saying.
Yes, I like a little bit of tail, but you can do that with Moogs and reverb as well. But it's the overtones and extra artifacts that happens in the wave that I can hear from our products I have not heard yet from a Moog product. Obviously, because all I've heard about Moog products, and that's when you can through your synths at the screen, is through YouTube. I've never heard a live one. Yeah, shame on me, I know. Okay, but if anybody has one, bring it on. I'm welcoming it. I want to be educated.
Look what
That's
Scott's
all
saying.
I want from.
Look what Scott's saying here in the chat. I should probably flag it and
Great.
yeah.
Yes,
Let's add it to the queue and flag this little baby. It's not a good point. He's got a good point. Let's see if we can get this up.
It's true.
When it decides to wake up, you stupid chat thing. Come on, wake it. There we go. You always hear about synths with a Moog style ladder filter, never a Moog style oscillator.
Ooh, yeah, man.
Contemplate your navel stuff today.
Yeah.
Go on, Scotty.
The other thing about ARP is you have duophonic on a lot of stuff, which makes a big difference. So
Yeah.
you know, a lot of Moog
It's
stuff
like
is not
designed to.
duophonic. So
It's like designed for I forgot. How the fuck is this?
Well, ARP got into trouble
ring
for using
modulation.
Moog filters, didn't they? They got into trouble a couple of times.
Well,
they
yeah,
got
they
into
had-
trouble with the
yeah,
2500,
lawsuit.
and then they got into trouble again with the 2600. So they were dancing with the devil. And you know,
It's trademarked.
it's a good filter. What can you do? It's a bit like saying, I'm going to put my
And I
lawnmower engine
appreciate
in
that
my
filter.
Ferrari.
In fact, I would love to make the mix get any ARP product through a Moog filter, because that could be the pinnacle of amazing tone.
Let's go back to the 2600.
It's called modular.
All right. Let's go
Yes,
back
it
to this
is.
2600.
I'm on it.
we will be here talking forever, and I do want to do that. But one of the things I want to talk about here is the fact that the 2600 lost the matrix and introduced the patches, which obviously the Moog modular systems had. But I think one of the good things about the fact now that, you know, you guys are talking about, oh, it's got one LFO, blah, blah, blah. This gives opportunity for you to patch other stuff into it. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of empty patch points on this particular one we're looking at. So in my opinion, the 2600 is probably the best ARP that they produced for a lot of reasons. I'm not saying, I still think the 2500 has an amazing sound and I love it for a lot of reasons as well. I'm not saying I don't love, I just think the 2600 probably, they fixed problems with the 2500. They added benefits, they added things that makes it good. Anyway, while we're on the 2600, why don't we go for a little tour over here so I get dizzy.
Rants.
It's okay.
Are you, on that statement, are you considering the patching capabilities of the 25? I mean, no, sorry, not the Behringer modules. I mean, the original 25. Are you considering that as well?
Kind of what I'm thinking of is when you're talking about the 2600, I'm just talking about some of the issues that they had with it. There were some very big mechanical / electronic reliability issues with it when they originally brought
With
it
the
out.
sliders, yeah, I get it. But in the improvement of the 26 having overwriting hardwire patching through cables, are you considering that the matrix had the patch input on the sides?
Yeah.
And you could overwrite any of the hardwired.
Yeah, I'm considering everything. Yeah. So let's go to this baby. And this is about all I can show in my studio ARP-wise because that's all I've got. And someone would probably argue, well, you can produce the same art sound with all three of them. Well, I can, but they all have their differences. This is a player's synth. I mean, you could probably argue that the 80% version that Korg produced is probably not as playable as the full version, but let's not go there. Okay. This is the player synth. One of the things I love about this thing is the, I don't know if you guys remember, but in here, can we zoom in or not? This thing is really quite interesting. Those, okay, it's down the bottom, you've got the three white buttons. You've got the flat, the wobble, and the sharp, right? We'll call it the flat, the wobble, and the sharp, right? Because the symbol will say that, right?
That's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. They kind of a spongy feel, right? They're kind of weird to when you first touch them. If you've never ever played an Odyssey before, you touch these things and you think, oh, this is this is weird, and it's doing these weird things with my synth. And you've got the LFO will control the speed of that. So the LFO is miles away, right up over here to control that. There's the LFO there. So basically, it's a player synth. And one of the reasons why it's a player synth, and I wish the zoom would work. There we go. Zoom, baby, zoom. There's a song in there. Right. One of the things I like about the Odyssey is it's a simplified, let's call it a simplified 2600, really, isn't it? It's a very simplified 2600. It's got the same sounding oscillators. It's got some really nice, it's very different to a mini Moog in its layout. The way that the everything kind of mixes, it's similar to the 2600, the way it all mixes and everything together. But in terms of playability, it's actually one of the most playable mono synths out there. There's also duophonic, of course, as well. Let's have a chat about the Odyssey. And I mean, I mentioned Herbie Hancock before as one of the great Odyssey players. Who here is akin to the Odyssey? Who loves the Odyssey? Who wants to have a chat to it? We'll go Brooksy. Brooksy was first. Go to you in the next one, Andy. You're muted, I think, Brooksy.
Take a drink, everyone. Take a drink. Pints all round. I suppose, I've told the story before about how I got into the synth stuff, and that was because a friend of mine came around with a cassette of Ultravox, which of course was Billy Currie, and his main synth was the ESC. And that was the sound. That was the sound of Ultravox, and of course John Fox too, and to an extent Gary Newman. But it was definitely that sound to me was the sound of a synthesizer. So I've always been after. I'm actually at this point. I'm sitting there going, I wonder why I haven't got one. Why have I never gone out and got either the Behringer one or the Korg one? I ought to have done. I find it amazing that I haven't. So it's definitely our sound. But it was interesting that what Billy Currie said about the Odyssey, and he described it as the punk synthesizer because it was a much brighter sound. What Eddie was alluding to, I suppose, that it would cut through around all those sort of jangly, distorted punk guitars. It was the one that would cut through in a mix when you're playing live in a punk band, and that's why they sort of gravitated towards that. Both Billy Currie and Gary Newman, John Fox, those people, and I think that's part of it. It is a brighter, more precise sound than say a mini Moog. I think that's its character.
Yeah.
So,
let's have a little listen while you're talking, Eddie.
Yeah,
please.
So I've got two oscillators, and you can hear one is pitched higher, but slightly less volume. You can actually see that on the mixer. If I hold two notes down, you can hear the difference.
That's another good argument for being popular on sales. The fact that you could play the bass line and the melody line at the same time.
Yeah. Shared filter, shared amp.
You get that phasing sound with it. Oh, it's a beautiful synth, and I've used this in many of my tracks as well. So I always feel gear becomes real when it becomes something that ends up in something that you feel like you can let the world listen to it. The tracks that I release, there's many tracks that I don't release. The tracks that I release, the world has heard the ARP Odyssey in some of them. Let's go to Andy Synth Addict, because he here also has a carp.
I love my little Odyssey. Carp Odyssey. This is the Tic Tac one.
Yeah.
Tic Tac colored tips on it. I sadly
is that
don't
an original?
use this as much as I should, but it is a great sound. As people were saying before, it was famous as the punk rock synth because it's very edgy. Moog can be edgy if you dial it in just right, but it's generally more of a warmer sound, not so crazy until you get into some of the wild patching or the feedback through feeding it back to itself. But this thing just out of the box starts going completely bonkers, and downright nasty and noisy if you want it to be, pretty quickly.
Cool.
The duophonic thing is cool, but of course now you're using one oscillator per key, so it's thinner. But hey, that's the nature of the design. But it's very functional and it's cool to have. I've told people this for years, but one of my friends in college had a CS40M, and being a kind of a rich kid, he didn't put any value on anything. He was constantly buying and selling crap and for pennies and stuff. And I could have bought his CS40M for probably $800 back in college. And I borrowed it for a while and I go, man, this thing only does 2 notes. I didn't know about monosynths back then. but it sounded great. I was doing helicopter noises with it and crazy stuff. But it was so stupid not to buy that, because now they're easily $2,500 or more to find one. And so now now that I'm embracing monosynths a lot and duophonic stuff, this thing's really wonderful. So definitely.
So is that an original?
No, this is the BARP.
Carp.
The Carp one.
Korg.
The BARP one, I don't like the
Korg
build
one.
quality. It does built-in effects, which is kind of handy. But I tried one at Perfect Circuit. I didn't like the build quality of it. So this is much better.
Is that the 80% version as well?
This is the Slim Key, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the first one that came out. And it's fine. I play mini keys all the time on various things, so I can muster.
Yeah.
But yeah, having a normal size one would be great, but it's just a lot more money. And you're not really gaining anything sound-wise or patch-wise or whatever. So, yeah.
And another point I think that was key in I don't know if success, because I don't know how many units compared to mini Moogs the Odyssey kicked out, but because I'm pretty visual, that's why the sliders to me are a win move. I heard that they also, mostly with the Odyssey and probably the later takes on the Odyssey, they release overlays to help people get faster to the tone they wanted to do in their gigs, because the slider layout allows just to put an overlay with slits, and you can mark your sounds, or you can just get the ones that I heard that they gave you from factory, or you could, or I don't know, maybe you had to buy them from ARP. But how handy and how improvement would that be? Because to me, the knob thing, even when it's proven that it's a more accurate, they have more degrees of tunability. The wheel on a Moog to me speaks nothing. I just see circles. I don't see settings. I see circles. That's why I love the slides, because the slide is telling me what is going on and how much is going on.
Slider versus knob.
One snapshot.
Yeah. The age-old argument: sliders versus knob.
And the overlays.
So you have a lot more control over a knob.
Yep.
But I love sliders, just like I have on a multi-looper with the slider volumes, where you can just go boom, boom, and knock a whole bunch down at once.
Yep.
And a knob bass, you can't do that. So.
Yeah. So sliders, I feel kind of what you said, Andy, and also visual. So they tick two boxes.
Yeah.
Knobs, if you have your head in the wrong angle, you don't really know where it's set until you kind of, there it is there.
Or not enough light.
Or not enough light, yeah. So, there's arguments for and against. Now, I do want to sort of go to the future of ARP, because ARP, believe it or not, people, is not dead. And whilst everyone was banging their heads saying, Ranz, what a crap show you're showing, you're not showing any original ARP gear, shame on you, you suck. Well, guess what? This is the reason why ARP is still alive, because of all these companies like Korg and Behringer remaking it. And guess what? It's now in Eurorack as well. So the 2600, you can start getting modules in Eurorack land. And I think this is a really good move. They've done it with the 2500, so why not do it with the 2600? And so at the moment, you can get the VCO, of course, and they are planning on doing other 2600 modules based on your feedback to Behringer. So jump on their Facebook group. They've got a Facebook group where they're asking people, hey, what do you want?
The envelope follower.
What synth company does that? Hey, what do you want? I don't think I've ever heard Roland send me an email and say, hey, what do you want? Nothing against Roland, but you know what I mean? Like, these guys are asking us, what do you guys want? Well, someone suggested, let's do a 2600 VCO, and guess what? There it is. So why that's good, could be good for a lot of reasons, but like you say, Eddie, it's got sliders on it, there's a lot of oscillators in here that have got knobs on them, but so there we go. I can patch it up later if you want to listen to it too. It does sound the same as 2600.
Is that module still duophonic or is just monophonic?
One oscillator.
It's one
Because I don't
oscillator.
see two plugs in. Is one.
Yeah, it's just one oscillator.
note.
Yeah. So in your 2600, you've got 3 of those, right?
Yeah.
So if you want
Okay,
duophonic,
exactly. And then
you'd have to
and they
you'd
can
have to
use
buy
either or.
multiples.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Thank you.
No worries.
Can we also say that ARP isn't dead because Korg have the right to use the ARP name
Yeah,
and the
we
right
can.
to do that, and the fact that although they reissued the 2600 in sort of full size, that FS version, is it the FS one? Am I getting confused?
Yeah,
They also are now making the slightly smaller one that they
the mini,
sort of teased a while ago. That's definitely out and available, and will continue to be so. Whereas that full size one was definitely a limited run of 500 or however many they made. So you can still buy one with the word ARP on it through Korg with the blessings of, I think, the Alan R. Perlman estate.
David Friend. Yep.
Foundation, yeah.
Sorry, the foundation. That's right. And I think that's to be borne in mind. And okay. I mean, Behringer are doing it, perhaps, and people think, oh, that's not, but they've been doing it for ages, haven't they? Putting these things out because they weren't available when Behringer started the development of that. There was no hint or sniff that Korg were, at least not in the sort of public domain. There may have been industry things, but they were doing that, and they've said they were doing it, and they've gone and done it alongside a guy who'd also been making his own versions of the ARP stuff, because they're not the only ones. There are other people out there who were making 2600s that you can buy in different sorts of formats. There were, in fact, last time I was at Synthfest, there were at least 2 different versions of the ARP 2600 that were being made, and you could buy, and for quite considerable sums of money. I mean, we're talking like 3,000-4,000 quid, but that's very niche and very boutique. But now, of course, Behringer's come along and disrupted it, and Korg themselves have as well. So,
look, there's a couple more things that I want to talk about ARP-wise, and we do need to get into the main show part of the show. But just sort of
we're late now.
Mini conversations about this. ARP obviously did this, the string Selena thing, which was a really nice string machine, and I think Behringer are recreating that, so I don't know when that's going to come out. That would be good. But my favourite synth that we haven't talked about yet, that one of my favourite synths that ARP have made is the Quadra. And the reason why I like the Quadra is because kind of similar to the Korg, the Quadra is basically a whole bunch of synths slammed into one interface where it becomes multi-timbral. So you've got a bass synth, you've got a string synth, you've got a lead synth, you've got this amazing friggin' phaser circuit in it that no one seems to want to recreate. I think it's like a 16-stage phaser. It's incredible. And okay, yeah, they had some issues with the keys hanging over. People would snapping keys off. There was some weird quirkiness to it, but that thing looks amazing. It's an amazing synth. I would love someone to remake a Quadra. I think, Korg, if you're listening, you guys really should be the ones that do that, because I think you've got.
It's going to be pricey, yeah.
Yeah, but let it be pricey. It's a beautiful look. Oberheim made the OBX8. That's a pricey synth. Why can't Korg do a pricey synth? It's not supposed to be something that you give to your kids.
About that one, the more I learn, the more I think that the OB is cheap. For what it's giving you.
Cheapish, yep. Cheapish when you consider the history.
What you're getting for.
Yeah.
It's the sound, but it's the sound multiple times.
Yeah. Look, there were other ARP synths. There was the ARP Axe. There was the ARP Omni. It was a whole bunch of other ARP stuff. So we're not like forgetting about those. But I think what we've really talked about are the big elephants in the room for ARP. I want to start the main show. Yeah, go for a quick one though.
just to point out another reason why ARP, in my opinion, is not dead, is of its legacy on the synthesizers that came afterwards. I think I can hear a lot of ARP tone in the Prune. God, the Pro one. What's the brand? I forgot about the brand.
Can't help you.
The Pro one. Who did the Pro
The
one?
sequential Pro one. No.
Sequential. I think I can
It's
hear a lot
not.
of tone of ARP in sequential.
No, it's
Because they
different.
did it different.
It's closer to Moog, actually.
Yeah, it's different.
But
Okay.
it's brighter and
Overheim?
busier than a.
No, the sequential Pro one is heading down the Curtis path. So you've got all the. So after all that sort of ARP stuff happened, you had Curtis chips were made, and that all of a sudden created a massive, huge opening to synths being made and filters and all sorts of stuff.
And polyphony.
Yeah. So if you look at the Prophet 5, that's kind of where that's that journey,
Moog
sequential
on
journey
steroids.
from there. Yeah. Yep.
All
right,
right, the Pro
what do
one
you
is basically it's a one voice.
Of a Prophet 5.
Basically, it's one voice. Prophet 5 Rev 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
basically, so
Yeah. And if you go do your history, go check out your Curtis, all the Curtis sort of sounding synths. You'll find there's a plethora of synths that have emerged from the whole Curtis chips that have been produced in the late 70s.
Understand.
Yeah.
Make it faster, make it cheaper, make it smaller.
When Billy Curry's Odysseys became unreliable, he replaced them with Oscars. That was the one that he said to him was the closest. Was the
that's another gnarly one.
Oh, but wasn't
Oxford's?
But wasn't
the
Chris
Oxford Oscar
an amazing synth designer? I mean, let's
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely,
no brainer.
Oh.
I've got 3 of his synths here, and I love them all. All right, let's hit this magic button. We're going to do main show. Boom. And the boutique of 50 people watching, hello to all of you, according to YouTube anyway. It's a boutique show. So if you do watch this on the replay, big hello to you. We are now doing the main show, and we are going to start off because we haven't formally said hello to everyone, so we're going to formally say hello to everyone. Starting off, the first person that came in, and a big thank you for last week's efforts is Eddie. Big hello to you. How's your week been? Obviously, you're putting your feet up after last week's efforts.
Well, not really, because right after I finish, in fact, I have to leave a little soon the stream, because I had to run to Weymouth, down south, and make a gig.
Wow.
Play a gig in the pub.
Hooray.
That's good.
After that, the next day, then I collapsed and start packing, because on Monday I had to go down to Spain to sort some
You did too, yeah.
sad family stuff. And I've been there since until yesterday, when I just landed, visited some friends, came down, collapsed, and this morning I'm here.
Busy man. All right, we're gonna go through quickly.
Yeah.
Big hello to you, Brooksy. Thanks for joining us again. Hope you enjoyed your pseudo week off. I noticed that you were on a few shows. Your pseudo week off.
Oh well, no, I was. I'd been asked by Jamie to do the geosynths thing, which I think will be once a month now. And then always smearing my face all over Kent Spong's at his pub, which is great fun. I love doing that. I did jump in the stream briefly last week, but I had all sorts of problems. I don't know what I've done. We finally sorted the audio and the mics out, which was a bit weird.
Cool.
Yeah, just we did because I did the jam with Grace last week. Doing another one straight after this. Going to go around to Grace's tonight and do another one for Hardware Jams, which is Inky's challenge, which is basically you've got to pick a character from a story that she's told about getting. It sounds like the start of a horror story, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. We'll have to have a good look at it and see what happens. But I think there'll be lots of room for modular goodness. I've actually got some new bits and bobs in my rack. Actually, I got a precision adder from Mac, and That's fun because that does interesting transposey things. That's been a very useful addition. Because you think precision adder, what's that all about? Until you actually start using it and you go, oh, it does that. That's great. Wow.
Yeah, let's bump an octave.
I bought, yeah, or a fifth. I said to a fifth, and because a fifth, if you transpose it up a fifth, it will play the fifth. If you transpose it down a fifth, it'll play the fourth.
Yep.
So does that make sense?
Yes,
right, okay.
Mathematically it does.
Then I've got more Dupfer. I've got the Wasp filter, which I've actually not plugged anything into it yet, but that looks like a thing. And then I've also got the a quad LFO from Dupfer, which is not syncable. It's just 4 free running LFO, so it'll be like half a div kit oct. But that was only sort of 60 quid, so I thought I'm going to have that, and just to send modulation around, and that'll be fun. So yeah, it's all sort of great. I've not got a lot of room left in that case now. So you can see I've had to take some of the System 100 modules out and port them over into the gap in the other case, just so to make room for things. Oh my God, it's growing.
It's growing. It's like a disease. It's like a vine.
So you can move on from C minor. Thanks, Ken Lewis. Yes, I can move on from C minor. Right, we'll do everything in D minor today. Right, that's the challenge.
I wouldn't even know how to do a C minor. Come on. You bloody friggin' musician fiends, you. Hello, Mr. Andy.
Hey. Forget the boombox, kids. ARP is where it's at.
That sounds better.
Yeah. Trying to do the Herbie Hancock one.
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, that's the 80s one.
And I don't think a typical ARP would fit on my shoulder like this. They're much heavier. So
the original ones were quite heavy, actually.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'd have a pain. Have you been up to anything other than bombing on people's shows, work-wise, or anything interesting? Any new gear?
Well, NAMM's coming up. I'm excited for that. So I haven't bought anything for a while because I got to save money for that. Starting Friday. So that'll be fun. Go see some cousins while I'm down there. Usual thing, the weekly hardware jam stuff. I'm a horror guy, so I'm all about this week's challenge.
Yeah, you'd be right up your alley. Absolutely.
So yeah, other than that, just putting my face all over the place, I guess, is one way to put it. But
and we thank you.
Yeah. We all enjoy it. Don't worry.
The pub scene is always fun. Online pubs are always good. So
online pubs, online streams.
Hangouts.
And yes, and hello to the chatties. We haven't been ignoring you. It's been it gets quite busy, but I do keep my eye on the comments popping in and out. Everyone, hello. I did say a brief hello to everyone at the start. So just a quick mention to the channel members, David and who else is in there? I think Keith and Watford. Who else did I see? Michael's there. I did see Michael briefly. Inverted Popes, hello to you. And I think that's all. I've been and all the new people that watch this show, a big hello to you as well. Do subscribe. Do give us a thumbs up if you feel that way. We're going to do some really interesting stuff now. We're going to do what we always do. Have a laugh.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Eddie. Thank you for that one.
Come on, it's
Eddie,
brilliant.
Eddie,
I don't know if it ever happened,
this.
but come on.
You can explain this one.
Well,
explain it.
Okay. Do I need to? Is anybody in the chat that is not aware of Star Trek and Star Trek Next Generation and Moog, which also was in Deep Space Nine and a couple of other cameos in the shows? It's basically, he's Worf, the son of Moog.
Yeah, he is.
So he's also the son of Moog.
Is that $3.95?
Marvelous.
Or is that $395?
I don't know, it looks like Tonto.
There's a price tag down the bottom. Did you see that? I don't know if anyone noticed the price tag on that.
I didn't.
$3.95.
And that's what makes me think that it might have been. Oh no, it's a Photoshop. It's Photoshop. I can see it, but It's on top of something that was originally an actual. I guess at one point anybody related to Star Trek, like, God, my memory, my brain, I'm too old for this shit. Captain Kirk, please help me.
Captain Kirk, please help you. William Shatner.
Who is Captain
William
Kirk? Who's
Shatner?
the actor?
Yeah.
William fucking Shatner, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Captain Kirk is
and
too worried
Leonard
about his
Nimoy.
hairpiece. So
And Leonard Nimoy. I know those two made albums. I don't know if anybody else from the original series did. So
I
it
want to
would
know,
make
can you
sense
make your Moog
that-
sound like a Klingon? No, that's what I want to know.
I want
With
to
enough patch
try
cables.
it.
Yeah, you might need a format filter. All right, let's go to the next one. Please wait patiently for the failure of the system. I get these across my desk, and I just thought this is perfect for a synth show.
Is that actually real?
That is real. Like the way they translate
translation's
stuff
always
over there.
fun.
Yeah, it's just failure in translation, basically. Failure in translation.
English.com is
It's
full
like
of
they
them,
don't
so.
check.
Yeah, they don't check.
It's like
No.
they don't check the translations.
The literal word failure, if you read it, you understand, okay, we're waiting for that system to end or fail or whatever. It kind of makes sense, but like it's just so funny, these things. Anyway, we will move on. Next one is
prepositions.
Beethoven. Dum 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 dum. Actually, it's probably the opposite of that when you think about who's doing the twinkle. It's more like do 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 ding. Turn it round.
Oh, it's high, low. Yeah. Love it.
Anyway, and the last but not least is left out and reft out.
No.
I've always wanted to know what stereo out actually meant. Thank goodness week. Favorite meme of the week, please, gentlemen and ladies, including the chatties. Tell us your favorite meme.
I have to say, I did like the urinals. That was
Beethoven.
Good.
that was funny.
Yeah.
Good.
But anything
I'm
Beethoven
getting the
was
translation.
Cool.
I like
about
the
you?
Translation
one.
was funny
That's-
too.
That stuff's always good.
Yeah, the Ringlish. And the chatties are saying refed out and urinals and refed out. I got another one. Wharf. Yeah, like the wharf. Wow, it's all over the spot. Which is normal. Which is normal. See, that's why we do 4 of them. Because there's something in it
so
for
go on urinals.
everyone.
All very Marcel Duchamp.
Something in it for everyone. Good. All right. Well, I've been away for a week, and there's been a bit of stuff happening. But you guys you don't need me to repeat that. But why don't we run the news and see what's on the other side of this stinger? Ooh, what have we got here? We've got some interesting things to talk about. This is not the Nina. Every week. Every freaking week.
You're turning yourself into a meme with that, aren't you?
I am. Every freaking week. I've actually asked them to help me
And
with
the
that.
week it works, you'll miss it.
I won't go into it.
We will.
They've
Be
actually
disappointed.
the company vMix have released an update which instead of solving my problem is basically for me to, they've given us a tool to find out how to solve my problem myself. Anyway, bugger them. I'm just going to keep it being this. Ritual Electronics have brought out this thing called the Arania or Arania.
Arania.
Anyway,
That's what it looks to me.
Aranea.
one of the Sonic
Aranea
State
to me
guys
too.
was playing with it over at Super Booth. So I'm not going to show the video because I actually haven't asked Nick for his permission. But it is a 5x5 matrix. Let's get rid of that stupid thing there. What are these things? Well, what are matrices? I think matrix mixers are actually really, really useful in the world of Eurorack. Even if you don't have massive Eurorack, these actually can be really useful even just if you have a bunch of synths that you want to kind of, you know, do some funky mixing with. What they've got is a whole bunch of attenuverters. So attenuverters are positive and negative. So if you look closely at those, the screen printing around each knob, you'll see that it's different colors on either side, right? And that indicates your positive and negative. And then on top of that, you've got down the bottom, you've got column different sort of wired column mixes. So for example, you've got all the A's out, then the next one across is A and B, so the first two columns, right? Then you've got all the B's out, and then you can see that sort of slash underneath one of them. That means it's diagonals going from top left to bottom right. And then you've got the C's out, and you've got the bottom right, top right
Hence
to bottom
the 5.
left. Yeah. And then you also got the mix on the bottom left-hand corner, so you get the idea. So there's a whole bunch of funky sort of blending and mixing going on here, which makes this thing kind of really cool. The other cool thing about it, it's not just CV, it's also DC coupled. So the possibilities of mixing LFOs or modulation, or it doesn't have to be audio, you know what I mean? Now, Ritual Electronics price is TBA, unfortunately. I don't have a price. I do apologise.
That's okay.
Although when I got this information, it was a couple of days ago, so maybe there has been a price. If anyone knows, let us know in the chat. What do you guys think of matrix mixers? Do you guys want to? I'll show you one that I've got. This is a prototype that you can just see there in the corner here. So you can see it's a similar thing. The only difference with this one is that it's 4x4. Hang on, what am I showing? You guys can't see that? No, you can see it. There we go. That one there. It's 4x4. Okay. The difference with this one and the other one that you just saw is this actually also has 4 inputs, 4 outputs, and then returns in again. So you actually, you can use this as a send and return matrix, which makes this one even more interesting. And I kind of thought, when they were showing the other one, this one, that I don't know if they had room to do this or not, but maybe they could have made the module a bit wider, but that would have made that thing absolutely killer if you just added one more element to it, and that is to give it the return. Because basically what it is, it's feed in, mix out, right? But why don't we feed in and feed in again and blend and mix out? And I kind of sound like a cooking show, but kind of that's what we want with matrix mixers. See if I can get a better shot for you guys of the one.
Couldn't you do it
I've got.
The way you would do with an audio mixer? Get one of the premix or one of the columns to feed in another one, in another line.
Well, you could, and believe it or not, you can actually...
Audio mixers and CV mixers are set up differently in that audio mixers are exponential and CV mixers are linear. I mean, they will do, but they don't behave in quite the same way. So that one that Ranzee was just showing isn't really suitable for mixing audio. It's designed to mix control voltage signals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so... Ritual Electronics.
Nerdy there, didn't it?
It did. It was good. Let's go to the next one.
Thank you.
The name's actually good for this because Aranea is a genus of orb weaver spiders, and this is very much a web of controls. So
there's a bit of a theme going with web of controls. Good segue there, Andy, because this is actually a really interesting module. I'm just gonna. You guys have had a quick look at the name. I'm going to take it off so you can see more of the module because there's more. This is like a 22 HP manual control cluster. And basically this module, all it does is it gives you like a performance control panel that you can patch in and patch out. So I'll explain. So what you've got is 2 joysticks, and then you've also got 12 momentary push button gates. And those are the red buttons on the right. You can use the 2 joysticks as well as push buttons when you push the actual joysticks in, they become a push button. So technically you've actually got 14 push button gates. Now the joysticks themselves, they output CV across X and Y axis, and they can be calibrated to bipolar or monopolar, and the range can be set. And the gate is activated by pushing, as I said. The buttons can output high on key press and low on release. So you can think of all the different things you can do with this, right? You could, for example, you could press a red button and it could trigger a drum in your setup, or you could press it, it could start a sequence, and until you let it go, it could stop the sequence, or vice versa. You could have low and high, depending on how you want. So you basically could control anything with these things. And I guess the uses are kind of endless, right? That's what I'm kind of thinking. Now, do I dare do a video? Do I dare do one? Been really, really very ginger about doing videos lately on this channel. And I've got to try and find where my videos are gone. Where did my videos go? Hello, video. Hello, video.
Just say nice things about it, you'll be okay, right?
Yeah, don't say horrible things. Let's see if this works. Okay, let me just clear the ads. YouTube ads. Sorry, it's not riveting, I know, but I actually have to click skip ads. All right, let's have a look at this thing. So, the manipulator, hey? Exile is the company, if you're wondering. Now, do they actually have a demonstration of this thing, or is it just all just graphics monitor stuff? Well, I think you get the idea. The video doesn't really show someone using it, but yeah. What do you guys think of that? The Exile manipulator. Has that manipulated into your brain that you want one? It's £250 and they're available now. I did check the website and they're sold out. There's a lot of higher end quality buttons and stuff in there. That's where the cost is. They're kind of like arcadey sort of, high end level.
And the videos, a lot of programming.
Keep a little memory note of those red buttons, by the way. Just do what I say. Just keep a little memory note of those little red buttons because you may see something similar later on in the show. Anyway, does anyone want to have a quick comment about that? Eddie, you said something.
It looks like a cool device, but I'm not a fan of those little thumbstick joysticks.
Yeah.
So that's why I got a planer too, because I want a real joystick.
I love the planer.
But yeah. So it's good for like you're using a PlayStation controller for your camera. That makes sense. But on a synth, I don't want a little fiddly joystick like that.
Yeah.
There's one on the little Korg. What the hell is it called? The little mini controller thing that has pads and now has some built-in sounds on it. And it's a little fiddly stick, and it's good for a portable unit, but not for something in a rack. I don't think.
There you go.
But Planer 2 rules. Yeah.
Planer 2's awesome. If only you could motorize that. Eddie, you said something about the buttons. Did you say something about the buttons? I think. Oh, what do we got here? MIDI. Oh no, Wii controller. Is it?
I'm all about the joysticks. My only problem is how uncomfortable would be to try to use it in the Euro rack. It's like,
I was thinking about that too, Eddie.
That's what I mean. A little fiddly stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I went
Mickey,
for something I can.
Delptronics makes a Wii controller. You can plug that into your modular.
Yeah. See, that's one of the. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I love the planer too, because you can actually record its movement, so you're not going to have to sit there and hold it all day long and your arm drops off because, the position that your rack is not very ergonomic in a lot of cases, right? So
my take is, it's brilliant. If it's good quality, the price looks good. Obviously, I have to study better what can it actually do and what can it actually router and trigger. But to me, it's brilliant. It's a go module.
Go. Hit the go button.
If Wagoo's just said the buttons seem momentary. If they are momentary, then it makes it slightly less usable. I mean, if you can set it to be momentary or latched, that would be really useful. Where you press it and it will just go, and then imagine holding it and then having to take it off again. It has its place. It definitely has its place, but I think I'd want to have both functions available. But I think the combination of all of that actually makes this a really interesting sort of performance. Has anyone seen that LED strip thing that people like Minor Melodies have got in there?
I have one of those light strips. They're cool.
They're like those sort of things. I'm really into that just as as something just to touch quickly rather than having to run it. Where's that little DIDI filter knob gone? Just got right, it's there. Boom.
You can record the motion,
and they're not
too.
stupidly
It'll play
expensive
back
at
the
all.
motion.
Yeah. They're not stupidly expensive. I think that they have a place. But this seems like it's a similar idea of offering you in a space, say, however big, sort of 68, not 68, but how big is it? About 40 HP that runs. So
22
being able
HP.
to send 22, right? That's not huge, is it? But still enough space to be able to get your fingers in and move. Yeah, those little joysticks are going to be a bit fiddly widdly, but I think it's got a lot going for it. I will investigate more about this one.
It does have some logic in it, guys. I just want to quickly mention this. And in the write-up, the Exile guys did say that they do have plans for more features. Like, for example, you mentioned, Andy, that it'd be nice to be able to change the function of the button from being momentary to something else. So it does have a digital logic behind it. You may be able to do that through some sort of USB update thing, programmer or something. Go ahead.
Counter-argument. About the momentary latching, yes, that would be awesome if they implement it later on. That would make it even more awesome. But being momentary, the first thing it comes, the first thought in my head is if there are triggers or / gates for envelopes, I'm thinking chords. You can play it.
Yeah. Well, like you play like a button grid on an MPC. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Momentary lapse of reason, perhaps, and chatties are saying similar things. It looks like the buttons are momentary. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, those big buttons look like QWERTY buttons, like on the TR-909.
Remember how I mentioned to you to keep a memory of those red buttons? Well,
okay.
Have a look at this.
Oh, hello.
It just happened to be on this one as well.
Yeah.
It's like China's having a sale of red buttons. No, I don't. I mean that with complete stupidness. We are being teased this incredible new desktop synth called the Nina. And I don't know if you guys have been seeing little sort of snippets come out in social media. Now we are, Andy, you're going to be in for a very nice surprise when you go down to NAMM. We are going to be seeing it for the first time down in NAMM. Look, I don't really know a lot about this other than what we all see on social media, but I did happen to have a short chat to the guy from Tone Lab, who was the one that leaked these images. He leaked them with permission, I should mention. No, Tone Lab isn't the guy who's making the synth, as far as I know, but he's based in Melbourne in Australia. Now, from what I can see on the video, it has motorized potentiometers. And when I say, let's say that in layman's terms, the knobs are motorized, right? That means that when you call up a patch, those knobs spin around to the setting where that patch has, like you see with sliders on mixers, right? Same thing. I can't remember seeing a synth with motorized knobs before. I've seen motorized faders, but not knobs. Someone might want to tell me if they've seen a synth before with motorized knobs.
Yes, please.
And you know, keep it clean. I'm sure there's a joke in there about motorized knobs as well. But this is a very futuristic.
Where's Darren when you need him?
Exactly. Where is he? He's a piker. That's what he is. Happy birthday to Darren for last week, by the way.
Oh yeah.
This has got a very future retro sort of look. Don't you agree? It's kind of like it's retro, but it's got a futuristic look to it. Anyway, I think there is a short. I don't know whether this video will work or not. I've never ever tried doing Instagram videos before. Let's see if we can get this thing to play.
Rant, those buttons you point at. Oh. Okay.
That's all you get. I'll do it again for you. Here we go. So we're literally being teased by these really small snippets on Instagram. There is another one as well where you heard a little bit more. I think it was kind of like a crossover type sound. But
the buttons don't they look like keyboard buttons? All keyboard.
Yeah, like a 1990s or 80s, computer keyboard. They do. Let's see what the chatties think about this first, because you just never know. There's always someone with an interesting comment in the chat. So 2 thumbs up. There is a video on YouTube that's longer. Yeah, no, I'm not going to play it though. for a very, very good reason, because I'll get another strike. But yeah, they the motorized knobs. No one's come up with a synth that's got motorized knobs yet. I don't know. No one. Anyway, who wants to have a quick comment about the Nina?
I think there's a reason why nobody's come up with a synth with motorized knobs. And I just think it's another thing that will go wrong. And what happens if you try to turn the knob while it's halfway through moving? By accident in the middle of a gig or something like that? Is that just going to make a mess of the motor? And
I think they're geared.
I haven't actually ever in all my time wished that I had motorized. I mean, there are times when you're playing where you think, okay, the Pro one, you know where it is because that it's all set up. But I have other synths where it's got memories like here, and you don't quite know where things are. But actually, I don't know. I'm just looking at it and I'm going, oh God, the repair bills. That's all I can get in my head when I think about it. It looks really quite attractive as a piece of kit. Got those sort of octave cat kind of style knobs and the nice red buttons. It's very attractive, but I'm not sure that we need them.
Yeah.
Personally.
Now,
the
Andy,
parts should not...
Andy, you're heading off to NAMM, right?
Yeah.
You're going to make a beeline for this one, I'm sure. What do you think of this? I know you like the quirky stuff.
Oh, we're telling you to.
I mean, I could probably join live from the show if you want me to show stuff, but
yeah, you can be a roving reporter. Yeah, go for it.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Because I don't know, you guys start, the show ends, let's see, you normally end around 9, right? So the show floor might not be open, but
no, but we can do it. We can do a later show.
I can show the outside of it at least.
Yeah, we can do a later show.
But so the wear and tear, repair nightmare of this kind of thing. Also the noise. The video they did play, I think Kent played it the other day. The knobs are quite noisy. Just like I've used the Yamaha motorized fader mixer before, where it's like, and that's fairly quiet, but this thing sounded quite noisy. It was like, so
yeah, it did.
That could get annoying after a while as well.
It did.
But it is cool to have that kind of control. If you're a one-man band, it is nice to have more hands, and so this could let you do some stuff like that, and also see what you're doing. Like the Moog, some of the later Moogs have the LEDs on the outside of the knobs, which is nice to know where you are at a distance.
The slim fatty and the little fatty.
Yeah, but it's a nice visual thing to have for sure, and it's kind of fun to look at it. But yeah, it's going to be a nightmare to repair this stuff. It's asking for trouble.
Yep. Well, I think one thing that we all want to know is, well, what it sounds like. And so we're going to have to wait till NAMM before we hear that. Now, I've been told that they're not going to really release any more information about this until NAMM. So, but I guess what they've told us is enough for us to know, okay, there's a new synth and it's going to be released at NAMM. So,
give it a time.
Basically, the guy that I spoke to from Xils-labs, he's going to let me in a lot more information once that NAMM thing comes out. So, yeah, right. Why don't we head off to checking out what prices are doing right now? I've got 2 of these that have come in during the week. First one was sent in by... God, I've got a bad memory.
Well, this one had to happen.
I mean, yeah, it's inevitable, right? So this one was sent in by David, who's in the chat. So big hello to David. This is the Mutable Instruments Blades.
Did you buy it, David?
Yes, it has been discontinued, but I actually think there's probably still some of these sitting in stores somewhere. So
probably.
Do not believe the hype is kind of the warning there. So thanks, David, for that one. That was a good one. And excuse me. The next one was sent in by Keith, who's also in the chat. So let's hit this button here. Why is that not working? Oh, come on. Do I have to refresh it? Refresh. There we go.
Cool.
The ARP synthesizer prototype, 16-voice electric piano keyboard vintage synth dealer, $149,999.99. Like, unless someone was like taking the P155, I do not think that is going to sell for that price. $500 postage too. Come on, for God's sake, people! You guys are idiots. That is it for Price Watch. Which one was your favourite?
Oh,
I mean, the first one is the one that I really find outrageous. The second one, if it's an actual
price, isn't it?
ARP, yeah, obviously, but if it's an actual ARP one of a kind prototype that never saw the light of day, plus it looks to be CP70 size. It's huge and it's a full keyboard and it's probably hammer action, and I don't know, for this it could hold even strings like the CP did. So historical item probably, but the first one is like, how much was new, the mutable one? Like 500, 500?
Around the $300 mark. They weren't that much.
300.
You can still get them.
Rampeted.
Yeah.
You can still buy them new.
And that's my point.
Half a dozen different retailers. I've been checking.
Or about used. I bought a lot of my stuff used
UK.
from Modular. So.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys selling used
it's
ones
highly
now.
synthetic. It's the used market. It's those things don't break if you don't break them. So they're forever. They're like Stonebox pedals for guitar. They're forever. So that guy is really on something that I want to share.
Was that piano one from Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. What you said? Was there when he said DM? Was that a Depeche Mode link? Was that what he meant with that, or
No, direct message. Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
But beautiful segue, because the next bit of information that we want to talk about is the very, very sad passing of our mate Andy Fletch, commonly seen down at the pub having a pint. And if you didn't know that, he also was actually one of the pivotal members from Depeche Mode. And this guy, he's, definitely one of my idols. There's not really a lot I can add to what the other shows have already said about him, other than the fact that I think probably one of the most formidable modern musicians in this world. He's got a brilliant brain. We had a brilliant brain. He had a very, very good business brain as well, and he kept that band, relevant. He kept, he was basically the person that kept Depeche Mode and brought them a lot to fame. He was very technically minded. He was, it was a very, very, very interesting man and very young to go. And he died of natural causes too, which really concerns us. But let's have a quick chat about Andy specifically. I've seen him play live, and he's a character, because like you see, when you see Depeche Mode live, you see this guy sort of at the back with the dark, the thick glasses on. You know what I mean? Like you're sort of watching him and you think, what is he up to? What is he doing there? That was Fletch. He was doing probably a lot of stuff, but it wasn't, he wasn't the show pony of the band, was he? He wasn't the front man. He wasn't any of that. He was the silent, hard-working achiever in that group. And I reckon they're really going to miss him big time. I mean, they've admitted that they are, but it's who wants to have a quick chat about Andy, about Fletch?
I'll jump in. He was the glue that kept it together. Really, with the big personalities in there. I mean, for me, the classic Depeche Mode from basically Construction Time Again through to Violator is, for me, that period. So that's the sort of Alan Wilder period in there. So you've got Alan Wilder, who is an astounding musician. David Garn, who's obviously that, amazing but fallible frontman. Martin Gore, a great songwriter. But I think Martin or needing a bit of direction in it, but also keeping those personalities. And basically, the information that we sort of have is that he was the man who kept them all together, and they respected his guidance on things. So if Andy Fletcher said, "No, we're going with this bit, we're going this way," they would go, "Yeah, okay," and they would do that. But he was also essentially like you said, the business brain. He was the manager. He was Depeche Mode's manager, really, in that sense too. So he'd have had a musical contribution, but he also just literally kept the show on the road and was a mediator. And I think that's why one of the reasons why that band had such longevity was down to Andy Fletcher.
Andy Fletcher,
and
yeah.
I wouldn't worry now whether really the days of Depeche Mode are now numbered. Can it really be Depeche Mode if it's just David Garn and Martin Gore? Or would Alan Wilder come back? I wonder.
Yeah, that's a question.
Would that even be possible? Could those three? I don't know. I think it's very, very sad because they were a massive influence for me.
Fun fact,
still
though,
are. I still listen to Depeche Mode at least once a week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love their music.
You know that Fletch was the only Depeche Mode member that can, well, up until now, that can say that his name is on every single one of their albums. He's the only one, because if you look at
the former,
people have left and come back in, and think, over the history of that band, he has been the only one.
David Garn's been on them all.
Nah, because David Garn came in later.
No, he didn't.
Didn't he? I thought he came in after Vince Clarke left.
No. That was Alan Wilder.
Alan Wilder, okay.
So Alan Wilder, Martin Gore.
Didn't David Garn? Wilder. I thought David Garn left at one stage, didn't he? Didn't he have a drug problem and he left and came back? It was only a brief thing.
I don't think he'll have been on the records. I don't think he's not been on a Depeche Mode album.
Okay. Well,
if anybody knows different to
that's the information that I read in one of the articles. I think it was Rolling Stone that mentioned that, actually. So he's got that claim, I believe. So
David Martin or everything. I think so. Vince Clarke was only with them for the one album. At the very beginning.
Start,
interesting. And
then he went
Alan
off with
Wilder
Alison
joined.
Moyet.
Yeah.
Yazoo.
Well, yeah. Well, it was Yazoo. They did the Assembly as well. That was a whole album.
Yep.
Oh, but anyway, yeah, because Alan Wilder joined with Construction Time again. He toured with them, I think, on A Broken Frame, and then joined officially with Construction Time again, and really brought in a very different sound to Depeche Mode. That sort of harder digital, sort of almost industrial sound came in with Alan Wilder.
Yeah,
and of course he was a brilliant classical musician. He was, Well, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. What's your favourite album?
Mine.
If you had to pick one.
Black Celebration and Violator. But I love them all. I mean, some great reward. I love that. Black Celebration's got one of my all-time favourites on it. I love a song which wasn't a single. I love a song called New Dress, because
New Dress is great.
So clever. The lyrics are just really cleverly written, and the way it just pounds along. I think that's an absolutely cracking piece of songwriting and production that I can just go back to again and again.
What it goes down to,
the windscreen.
If you think about this, it's really sad that Fletcher's left us, but it's not just the fact that he's left us. What he's actually, what he did, like Andy said, what he did for that band is really. He was the conduit. He was the guy that we're talking 40 years, really, aren't we? We're talking 40 years. That's a long bloody time for a band to, they're still relevant today. So he's kept them relevant, and it's not just him on his own, but he was, like I said, a lot of the brains behind some of the business decisions that they made. I think, early in the day when they were asked to tour in the US, there was some reluctance in the band about the touring of the US, and how that was to come about, and he was big behind that, saying, well, we've got to tour the US, we've got to get our sound out there, because that's a market for for us for the future. So he had big visions that a lot of people in the band probably didn't know about. It's a very interesting mix up of people. You like Andy said, you've got Gore as the the music, with that Gibson guitar, was it the Les Paul guitar that he plays in it? And you've got Dave doing the vocals, and his vocals are very unique. And so when you think about all the other stuff that happened in Depeche Mode, Fletch he had his fingers on all facets of it. So he probably would have had a say in whether some tracks made it to albums, whether some tracks didn't, whether some sounds were in some of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was kind of involved in everything. He was, like I said, the conduit. He was the
architect.
Yeah, he was a very, very clever man.
We salute
you,
put
Fletch.
a partial link in
Enjoy
the
it.
chat. I put a partial link in the chat of a video guy put up probably a couple of years ago. That's clever because it shows. People always joke about, oh, he didn't really do that much musically or whatever, but on all the live performances, he was doing some of the most boring parts that made the song fill out. So he was important even in the live shows.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as I said at the start, you watch him standing. He was kind of the guy at the back with the dark glasses on, and he was busy. He was doing a lot of stuff in those shows. And I've seen them tour like in the late 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s. So I've seen them at different stages, with or without certain members in the band, and he was there in all of them. So yeah, all right. We did have to do that, and also I think a special mention should go to people who love the band Yes, because Alan White passed on as well, and he was the drummer for Yes, and yes, he was quite elderly. He was in his late 70s. I think he was almost 80, 79 or something. But I mean, he's well known, especially in England. Like he's a really well known character. He used to get about, wear those funny hats and the Hawaiian shirts, and that was him. So he's just left this earth. He's done his time. So it's sad that he's gone, but he's definitely done his time. So we should also mention him. Because I mean, okay, he's not a synth related person, but he was definitely someone that I used to listen to when I was a child. Yes, we're one of my favourite bands. What? What's that?
Wasn't he? Because all I know about Yes, they were knee deep in all the new tech that was coming out to make the prog stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if even the drummer, even if he never went the fully digital way, he was enhanced by old Roland technology for triggering samples, backing tracks. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Oh, he'd definitely have some sort of,
I mean, Neil Peart from Rush was, so.
Yeah. All right. I think we need to do the next segment, and let's cheer us up a bit. Okay. Let's see if we can do some guessing. It's back. Now, Name That Synth is brought to us by Plugin Guru, and Plugin Guru is a great company. Skippy's our guy from Plugin Guru. But let's talk a little bit about the prize, which is Unify. Now I'm going to read something because Skippy's asked me to. It is a unique software plugin and standalone application that can load all of your instruments, audio effects, and MIDI effect plugins into a single combination mode. And for those of you familiar with combination or multi-mode on hardware workstation type synths, you will know and understand how that works. You can easily layer multiples of the same plugin for incredible stacks or splits, and you can actually combine up to 24 layers in a single patch, multiprocessor, savvy for each layer, you know, getting technical here, you could have a different CPU thread, for example. On a unique thing Unify does is load any existing patch into your current patch with simply a mouse click. Imagine playing one Serum patch and then wanting to add another Serum patch in Unify. You set the load mode to Unify layer and it will load any patch and does this with each successive patch that you click. With over 18 plugins now unified, meaning all the factory patches for Serum, June 3, Wave Station native, most of Cherry Audio's synths, and all of Yuhi's synths, and many more, including Blue ARP, which we should mention, our favorite guy from Russia, Grey Wolf. Creating unique patches for your productions just became something really fun, and Unify can do this. So you can win Unify by guessing the synth in this segment, and many thanks to, like I said, to Plugin Guru for sponsoring it. And yes, all we have to do is sit back, get the headphones adjusted, get it all ready, get the ears, like get the stuff out of your ears, get them all clean, get yourself ready. We're not going to trick you visually though here. So maybe your eyes might be tricking you, but I can guarantee you that what you're seeing is the actual synth. But maybe use your ears more. There is no extra audio effects. There's been no compression. There has been no anything other than the straight out the back of the synth recorded as it intended. It has probably been recorded in multi-part layers, but it's still the synth. Let's play it. Let's go over to here and hit the play button. 3, 2, 1. Oh, and we didn't get anything on the screen. Why is that? That was a complete fail.
Oh, God.
Let me go back to me for a sec.
Where's Eddie gone? You killed him.
Eddie's disappeared. Okay, are we ready? Here we go. We're going to do it again. 3, 2, 1, go. Everybody, let's get into it. What have we got? Who's guessed it? Has anyone guessed it yet? Oh, geez, we don't know. We may be. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds. I'm going to set my little timer here on my illustrious phone. Let's go timer. Let's go. By the time I set this timer, it's going to be about 30 seconds anyway. But that's okay. We'll give some people some extra time. Okay,
yeah, so that one myself.
We're setting the timer. There it is. Count it down, people. Look, it's even focused on the timer. Count it down.
Do I have my waiting music?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Done.
Yep. Shush phone. This show is a very high quality, classy show.
You can do it worse than we did.
Now, someone may have guessed it, but I am going to just reveal what it is first, and then we'll go back and we'll find out whether someone's guessed it correctly. Okay.
Good.
Now,
'Cause I'm biting my nails.
no one can guess, by the way, anymore. So the time's up. If you're guessing now, you've missed out. The beeper's gone, right? I can reveal to you that it was me that did this Name That Synth this week. So for those who like to look at my gear list,
Yes, it was.
Oh, I know what it's going to be now.
here we go.
Punk. Coda.
Oh,
Okay.
well done, Andy.
I can- Who did?
That was Andy, wasn't it?
Here it is, everybody, upside down, Miss Jane. All the electrons are going to fall out. Whee! There it is, everyone. Yeah, I have to admit, I was trying to trick you a little bit because I thought some people would think if it's going to be one of these vocoder type synthy string machine things, they'd go with the Behringer VC340, which is literally sitting behind my head there somewhere. And you guys know that I've got one of those. So let's see who wins the Guernsey. I'm pretty sure it's actually Andy, if I remember correctly. I think he was the first person that said it. So, Mr. Synth Addict, you get it.
Yeah, I have one. I recognize the crap sound immediately. So
Brilliant.
nothing you did. It's just the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah. So, Brooksy, VC340, by the way, Brooksy. Close.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You won't win if you keep getting shit like that wrong.
It's the Roland's VP, isn't it, though? That's
Yeah.
VP 330.
VP 330, yeah.
VC
So only one
340,
person got it
okay.
right. Wow. A few people were saying TB303 and Wasp and Carp Odyssey because I threw them off with the ARP sort of
Yellow.
Yeah.
Theme.
Yeah. But I can let you know that every single sound, including the drums, was from that. And you're probably thinking, how the hell did I do drums? Did anyone want to have a guess how I did drums? There's no subtractive synthesis on this thing, so you can't set envelopes and do percussive. Yeah. How did I do drums?
But the sampling option
You
is
didn't
cool,
use. Okay.
You just
Oh,
I
you
just
use the
made
microphone
sounds.
to record
Yeah,
them.
in the vocoder. I just made a sound in my mouth in the vocoder and just recorded it. It was that easy.
Yeah, that's all you need.
I mean,
That's the reason to keep it is the sampling option.
yeah. There you go.
Cool.
So I just really was very limited of what I could do with that, to be honest. By the way, the VC340 that Behringer made is 10 times better than this. This thing is voice limited. It's like there's very annoying things in it. But one good thing about it though is that it does pitch very, very low, whereas the Behringer one doesn't. So you can actually, through MIDI, you can actually get this thing to go like, I don't know. I don't think this one used ACB though either. I think it was all just kind of digital emulation. But yeah. Other than that, yeah, me beatboxing. Exactly. I was like making drum beats with my mouth.
CCB, it's crap circuit behavior. So
CCB. Yeah. Do you guys enjoy this Name That Synth this week? You guys enjoy that one?
Yeah, that was cool.
Rance. Well done.
Yeah.
Congrats.
We've got a prize winner.
To Andy.
Andy, have you already got plugin guru stuff?
no, I don't. No, but
Okay,
so
cool. I'll send your details over to Skippy. So you do win that. And I believe he's starting to get people's prizes to them. So from what I understand. Okay, Eddie's nodding his head. Good. So people are getting the prizes. That's good. Next week we should have a little bit more of a video to show. Let me just get rid of this thing. I do want to give it a bit more of a plug.
Just let me say that I was needing that software product for a long time because I'm too lazy and it fills me with a little dread to turn on my Cubase to use my plugins. plus the non-pleasant thing that Cubase has ditched all 32s, which I have to use a workaround, which is crazy, but it works. And this new news about ditching all VST2s, which is basically heaps of tones of them. And I like just to turn on one software and be able to get my my soft synths, and be able to also use my plugin effects, which I've been compiling. What I still don't have, because as Ranzee knows, I had no time to install it myself. I barely had time to ask somebody to download it in my computer because I was away. I'm still not sure if he can also route ins and inputs, hardware inputs and outputs to my output gear. If it does, I think I'm not going to use Cubase even half of what I use at the moment, because that's all I need, because I want to play live, make sounds and play with it, but be able to integrate and make a preset of the setup I want to use for that particular session. Do you know if that's the case, Rance?
Not really sure, but why did that go to there? I wanted to go to there. I don't use it enough to know, but we are going to get Skippy to come on the show soon. I don't know if it's next week, so you can ask him all those sort of questions there. But anyway, if you are interested in Plugin Guru, you could try your luck next week at Name That Synth and try and win yourself Unify, or you could just go and buy it. It's actually not that expensive. It's pretty cheap, actually. So $79.
It is.
It's a really, really good piece of software. And we'll get Skippy on the show, and he can show us a lot more about it than what I am able to do, because, world's worst demonstration person right here. Which is why I don't get all the big gigs. Right. What time is it? Ooh, we've been going now for, according to Mr. YouTube Clock, 2 hours and 16 minutes. That's a pretty good, decent stream. Not quite as long as you guys, chatting away for 4 hours last weekend. Jeez, what are you talking about for 4 hours? Must have been interesting. Or was that
I still don't know how.
Is that Kent's probably the reason for that, isn't he?
No, I think it's because I left. Then the program became interesting, and they just kept going.
Yeah, we need to do a show where we bring on the is it the StreamYard people? I think you can bring another 10 people in through StreamYard. But yeah,
that's what I've heard.
We can do 8 through this and 10 through that. Was 18 we could do. I don't know if my internet would hold up 8 people through this though. Definitely holds up 4.
I mean, mine is nothing to write home about and held up. As a guest, I didn't host because of the technical issues, even when that was the plan, but it wouldn't work. So JX was so gentle to allow us to host it in his system.
I love all the, like it actually had a bit of my theme in that show, because there was train wrecks in there as well. So it fit beautifully. Like when you guys were trying to do the Ferris Bueller Day Off version of me hitting the synth, and there was supposed to be sounds, and that failed as well. I
watched the video afterwards.
Ken jumped in at the end with some audio dubs over.
No, that was me.
Oh, that was you, was it? Okay. I thought someone said on the show that it was Kent. Oh, okay.
I dare you to pinpoint which train wrecks were real and which ones were scripted.
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue, mate. It was funny. That's the main point. It was hilarious. Good. And I got a lot of laugh out of it. And I remember when Henrik asked me to do it, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? It was like, it was a bit weird. And then he sent me this link to, because you can't just assume someone's watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because not everyone's seen it. I definitely have. It's probably one of the most watched movies in my list of movies that I've watched. It's probably up there, where I've watched it like at least more than 10 times, and that's
And probably
quite a
the
thing
one
to
that
do.
put Emulator 2 on the map.
Well, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't even think when I watched it, multiple times when I was younger, I don't even think I watched it because of the emulator. I think I watched it because of the Ferrari being
funny.
reversed out the back of the garage.
Have you watched it recently? I mean, I have to be honest. I did watch it again recently because I thought, Ferris, and I have to say I didn't enjoy it anything like as much as I thought I would, because I'm not a teenager anymore, am I?
Yeah, true.
And yeah, I've no. Well,
But don't you have to put up with those sort of kids at school every day?
All those sort of John Hughes films.
Plus, that principal's been cancelled.
Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink, and I loved all of those. But I'm not sure that.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe.
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe
I'm very hard to. I'm a very tough audience for comedy, and it's probably half because of my knee conditions. But I laughed my ass off with Ferris Bueller again, because so bizarre but so well put together. Everything made sense. If you get into the story of the film, everything made sense, and the character of the principal is like, poor guy. It's like you feel pity for him, but still you want him to go through all the bad stuff because he deserved it, because he's an ass. So I did enjoy it a lot. Obviously, with all the caveats, it's an 80s film, it's cheap, it's just for teenagers, blah, blah, blah. But still,
it's a good use of Yellow, too.
And that's hard. Excuse me, what?
Yeah.
The song by Yellow, Oh Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you guys heard their latest album? They've just released an album within the last year or so.
Right, cool.
Yeah. It's actually really good. Like,
okay.
There's one track on it that it literally, it's one of those, it's typical Yellow. They make this really sort of memorable track that will just keep sticking in your head even after you've listened to it. I can't remember what it's called because I have a terrible memory. It's like Wackle Wackle or something like that.
Okay. I said about the emulator because when I saw that film, I wasn't even into, well, I was into synthesizers, but I assumed that every synthesizer could do that. And I said, oh, great. So whenever I manage to buy a synthesizer, whatever it is, I'll be able to do that. And I want to do that. And that's cool as hell.
Wabba Duba is the song, by the way, I was thinking of. Wabba Duba.
Okay.
And the album's called Point.
And how old is that one?
Point. Wabba, okay. WABADUBA. Wabba Duba. It's very, very, like you guys were talking about, oh yeah, just then. It's kind of, like, it's like that the next rendition after that. It's, it's very typical Yellow. You guys will love it if you're into Yellow stuff. Speaking of Yellow, one of my favorite songs ever made is actually a song called Sometimes, Dr. Hirsch.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic song.
Yeah, it's a good song. That's off
and it's not even a popular song.
I think I know it.
It's like a B-side type, back of the album type song.
I'm sure I heard it, but I don't remember that one. So.
What album was it on?
It's off the album Stella.
Stella, that's right. Stella! Who's been watching Seinfeld again on Netflix?
Anybody minds if I tell my Depeche Mode story?
Yeah, go for
it. It's just okay. Problem with me and Depeche Mode is I think I knew about them on Violator because obviously that album grew so big and it was the right time, MTV kicking everywhere. But at the time I was getting deep into guitar music and basically hard rock, heavy metal, and obviously Personal Jesus, The Reef. It did interest me, did like me, but then everything I learned about them afterwards always sounded a little too pop to me. And I said, for a rock band, they're too poppy, too synthy. So I dismissed it at first. Then I went back and started considering synthesizer. I heard about them again, the new stuff, and I went, yeah, but they're not rock and they're not synth enough. They have drummer, they have a guitar player, have a bass player, blah, 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 because that's how little I knew. Then now, in this new synthesizer renaissance of mine, I did the homework finally, and I learned, oh, wait a second, no, they never had a drummer. This is not a rock band five-piece scheme. It's only synths, and it's all either programmed or performed live, which is what I adore. Then I went back from the beginning, and I couldn't believe how amazingly good, to my taste, is every single album up to Violator. And I went like, oh, so in a way, to my taste, I got the wrong end of the stick. I got the bad stuff. To my taste, because I'm much about more simplistic, more melody driven, more. I love Jesu, I love OMD, I love what's the song? Once again, Vienna, Ultravox. I love that very minimalistic synth music, and that's what they did at the beginning. And I, as you said, your favorite song by them, mine has to be in that era, which is I think what 6, 7 albums or more than that. Everything before Violator.
Probably about 5 years.
6 albums.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. In that one, the one that at the moment is a stick like chewing gum to my brain is one with a very polemic line. It's the one that goes, I don't want to start any blasphemous rumors.
Oh, yeah, Blasphemous Rumors, yeah.
Blasphemous Rumors.
Yeah.
Is that the title?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
The same way the song I love about the Tears for Fears is Mad World.
Yeah.
I like weird. I love dark. That's why I'm a metalhead and I'm a goth. If it's not dark to me, it's too shallow. So, and I'm having a blast going through all the old stuff. I don't think I can feel the departure of Andy Clark. Is that Andy Clark? Jeremy Clark?
And
Andy
Clark, yeah.
Fletcher.
Andy Fletcher, yeah.
Andy Fletcher.
Yeah. Andy Fletcher is the part of the Depeche Mode who just died. But I mean, in the beginning, when the guy who did Jesu left, Vince Clarke. Thank you. I think I can feel a little change from the first to the second album, but not really. And I love what he did on his own. But yeah, obviously, my question to them is, will you stop the band because the biggest motor of the band has left? I mean, if I could talk to them, will you do that? Or will you just for the fans' sake stick to revival and stick to keep the memory alive? And if necessary or if inspired, create a new Depeche Mode? What would be your next move?
I don't know if
I know they don't need to.
I mean,
but I would love to know.
40 years. It's not a lot of bands.
Well, they've done it twice, haven't they?
There's not a lot of bands that can say they've been around for 40 years.
So they had to reinvent themselves after
Rolling
Clark left. And they had to sort of reinvent after Alan Wilder left. It was after Alan Wilder left that the drummer and the guitarist actually came in. I think they're pretty much a fixed part now, aren't they? Of Depeche Mode.
That album Ultra.
I don't know what they're called. But.
That album Ultra that they brought out was quite like if you're into if you're into like heavy sort of rock sort of stuff, that album Ultra, that'll be right up your alley actually, because it's got a lot of heavy guitar and drums in it.
Is that the one with the track "Was the Revolution"?
No, that's after. That's
because I have that one and I love that one. I think that on that album they went back to the origins and I love it.
That was also a good album. That's the next. Is it the one before or the one after? I just closed the tab. I had the discography up.
It's interesting you mentioned about Dark.
Songs of Faith and Devotion.
Yeah, Songs of Faith and Devotion
was the one before.
Was the album after Violator.
Yeah, and that was the last album with
Wilder on it.
Yeah, they had a bit of sort of guitar in that, but I think Ultra was definitely more metal guitar in it. It was definitely their more sort of heavy go. They actually went quite a sort of left field to what normal DM stuff is on that album, but there is some tracks in there. One of the great tracks in that Ultra album is the Love Feeds. You could listen to that song and after and after. It's so many little tiny little sound effects that just kind of like.
I've got it. I'm gonna have to. I don't know it. I've only listened to it a couple of times and didn't really pursue it. So I'll have to go back and listen to it again. I was going to say too much, Eddie. That interesting. The first Depeche Mode album, Speak and Spell, those nice, funny little ditty pop songs like New Life and
Photograph.
whatever the other one was called.
Yeah.
You know. Well, actually within there are some really quite dark tracks, like Photographic, Tora Tora Tora. They're quite. One of them sounds like house music as well. I forgot. Anyway, but there's some really quite dark songs between those sort of nice little ditty pop songs. But,
yeah, I mean, I get it. The first two albums is all, probably 5 of them, putting their ideas, throwing their ideas at the pool and trying to make sense out of them. So obviously you get Vince Clarke trying to go EDM, and you got the rest. They had a guitar guy trying to make rock-ish or rock brushed, and all the other guys with a synth trying to, I don't know, be Kraftwerk or OMD or anybody of the sorts. And that is one thing that I loved in a band, variety. Sadly, I mean, no, luckily I was in my youth spoiled by bands like Queen. Yeah, it's the same band. Yes, it's the same art and craftsmanship level, but each song is a completely different world. And that's something
depends
I
on the
appreciate.
producer too. The stuff Depeche Mode did with Flood was really good.
One of the things a lot of people say, and you guys have said it on the show, and I've heard other people say it on previous shows just after the announcement of Fletch and that, is that they really enjoyed the early stuff, up till Violator. I get that, I hear that a lot, but I'm actually not that person. I actually have enjoyed them from the start right up to their latest album, and some albums I enjoy more than others. But like one of my favorite albums is Playing the Angel. And I actually love that album. There's some really amazing tracks on that album, and that's a more recent. It's a great tour as well. That's a more recent album that they've done. So for them to still keep kicking goals like that, I think they're an amazing band.
They had all Axis Viruses on stage for that. So.
What was that, Andy?
Axis Virus on stage for Playing the Angel.
Yes, yeah. That and I think Fletch actually was instrumental in that. I think he did a lot of the setting up of the Access Virus stuff, from what I remember. Because I went to that tour and I saw him out on stage, because I went there early and I saw them set up, and I saw him out on stage like doing a whole bunch of stuff on the Virus and then connecting it up to other gear and then going away and coming back, scratching his head. There was a lot of that going on, and it was only him doing it. So, like we all said,
the sci-fi look of the concert was cool too. It was a really nice setup at the show.
Yep.
And I'll never forget it, because that's the only time I ever had bronchitis. I had to watch the show. So.
Well, they used the Virus mainly as MIDI controllers. That they did actually use the synth engine in it, but they actually used it predominantly as actually a controller.
Sure.
Okay. So as I was trying to say, don't get me wrong, I also love Violator, and I still need to do my homework Violator afterwards, but I felt so inspired by everything before. It touched me better, and my only thing about Violator is that it got overplayed.
I don't think you can play Violator enough. Sorry.
Okay, obviously. Good. But to me, because my head wasn't on another stuff, I gone like, oh, yeah, again, personal users. But because you have to understand, it's not only radio and MTV. Personal Jesus got played a lot in clubs in Spain. and tons of trance and acid and rave variations of Personal Jesus. That riff,
that album kept me company through some really, really different times. I was just out of school,
I see.
and I joined the military, and I was only a young, 17-year-old, hadn't even, turned into an adult yet. And I was, off, shipped out of my home, didn't have mummy anymore. You know what I mean? So that album kept me company. And it kept me company for, for many, many years. Played over and over and over, I originally bought it.
Different meaning for you.
I originally bought it on, I think it was cassette first, and then I went and bought the CD later. I think as the, technology availability of stuff came out. But I remember when I got the CD and I listened to it for the first time on CD, I heard all these sounds that you couldn't hear on the cassette version. Because I didn't have the vinyl. Because where I was, I couldn't lug vinyl around with me because it's not really a portable thing. And I never bought it because I was never home either. So weird. It's weird that album just happened to be out at that particular point in my life where I was just finishing school, going into the military.
Was Violator around 90s?
Late 80s,
What was it released?
Yeah.
1990, I think it was released.
I thought it was 89.
I think I was...
Could have been right.
I was deep in Metallica and Nirvana and starting with
90,
new metal by then.
Yeah. So I joined the military in 1989. Yeah. And Violator came out in 90. Yeah. It fits perfectly. Yeah. There you go. I actually remember, Brooksy, I was sitting on a bus in Malaysia and I had, we talked about this bus trip before because I had the, I had the other cassette, which was OMD. So the two cassettes I had on me, I had Dazzle Ships and I had Violator. They were the two cassettes I had on me. Yeah.
And no bass in the car.
This is Helena.
Yeah.
Or MC today.
So there you go. I mean, music does that, doesn't it? It keeps you company. It takes you away from, sometimes it lets you drift, it lets you dream, it lets you, forget about some of the hassles of life. I was a massive Pink Floyd fan and prog rock and Yes and
Me too.
Genesis and all that stuff as well. I've talked about that before. So I like all that sort of dreamy, that sort of music is my thing. So don't worry, I used to get out to nightclubs and dance as well. So it wasn't all kind of weird proggy stuff, but yeah.
Da-da-da-da.
I was heavily into the acid scene. Lived all through that when that first came out.
1990.
Yeah. Clubs, acid music was fantastic. There were these dances that you did at an acid, like if you went to a club and they just played acid music, and it was a different dance. Like people were just doing some weird shit. Like their arms were going freaking everywhere. Their legs were going everywhere.
A lot of people were on weird shit. So
it was freaking incredible seeing these people doing these dances at acid clubs. Yeah. And when I was saying an acid club, I don't mean the drug acid. I mean the music acid. I'm not saying that there's a club
they went together.
Yeah, there probably was acid at the acid club, but yeah. And I think you guys will remember that.
And that's exactly what I started not going anymore to clubs, because I was raised in disco, like 70s disco and danceable and 80s hit parade and and that type of bring what you only hear quiet and distorted on the radio track that was number 1 to number 10, bring it to the club with a full-on tear down the wall system and be able to dance with it and join it with the next hit and the next hit. And you could dance and be creative on dancing. When it started becoming 4 on the floor and everybody doing one move, is when I said, I'm out of here. That's not for me. And
when I was a teenager, Eddie, when I was a teenager and I was still at school, I got a part-time job working in a hi-fi store. So in the 80s, you'd think the 80s were all about hi-fis, right? They were all about these 19-inch components. Like we sold Technics, we sold NAD, Harman Kardon, like all that, all that cool stuff.
Bang & Olufsen.
Bang & Olufsen. That was like, there was a special room for that. Like there was kind of like the...
They were the apples of the time.
Yeah. And so when
NAD was no slouch. So
I used to listen to music all through the shift that I was on. If I was working Thursday nights, Saturdays, whatever, I'd be listening to music all through it, and on some of the best sounding stereos that you could ever listen to. And I've got some of the old Technics Gear Steel here, which I love. Pioneer was another brand. Yep. Marantz was another brand that they used to sell.
Oh yeah.
So, but when I joined the military, I couldn't have my hi-fi. I had a Pioneer system, which was different. Didn't have Pioneer speakers, but I had like Pioneer receivers and CD players and tape decks and things like that. But the speakers I had, I think, were Morn Shorts. They were British made Morn Short speakers. Beautiful sounding speakers. I spent so much money on this thing, like the money I didn't even really have to spend on it. But when I joined the military, I couldn't listen to music on it because it was back at home, and it sat there for years at home getting dusty until I got to the point where I went, right, box it up and send it to me because I'd bought a house, and I thought, well, I want my stereo back. I missed that thing. Didn't have it for like 3-4 years. And you think about it, like you listen to music on crappy Walkmans or your friend's stereos or your car stereo or something like that. It's not the same thing in those days.
No.
We've got
hi-fi aficionado to hi-fi aficionado. What's your take on mini disc? Flop
I never
success?
really. No, I thought it was a flop. I never really got into that. I thought it was a flop, but I definitely.
Right?
But I definitely know that. But in hindsight, I definitely know they had a really good. It had a really good specification. That was the thing.
It had the origin of MP3, isn't it? It was. It stripped some of the data out.
It was
CD
lossless.
was the origin of
compressed.
CD was the origin of MP3. That's the first files they shrunk down because 8-track nobody had the codec to break it. It only was licensed by Sony. But
I never had
what I've been
8-track.
learning.
Yeah, I never had 8-track. No.
No. 8-track is the codec that Sony used to create the mini disc. It goes on every player.
Yeah. I had a friend who had one. Do you remember in the late 80s that Sony brought these little compact mini hi-fi systems out? They were kind of like bookshelf hi-fis. And they were selling like hotcakes, these things, because they actually sounded pretty good. They didn't sound anywhere near as good as a proper, sitting on the floor type system, but they sounded pretty good. And one of my friends bought one, but he bought the version with the mini disc in it. And I remember laughing at him saying, where the hell are you going to get the mini disc from? You're an idiot. Like I was like, and he looked at me and he's like, oh yeah. Because you couldn't get them anywhere. We're in Australia, right? Australia is the bottom of the world. No one thinks about us when they're sending stuff. Yeah. You can get CDs, you can get tapes, but you couldn't get. Yeah. You could get mini discs, but you had to order them in, right? So every time you went to a record shop, he'd have to order it in. And I said, mate, this wasn't a good idea, was it? He goes, nah, it wasn't a good idea. So I think he sold it within about a year to someone else. So
I was going to get a mini disc for field recording, but then I decided on DAT because it was much better quality.
Yeah. Do you remember how we used to have the we used to have the double cassettes, right? And you used to have your mate come over and he'd bring a blank tape and you'd do these, you would do the on double speed, or it'll just make the second tape. They were so cool those times. Yeah. I used to love that stuff. Yeah. And you'd record a CD to tape and you listen to it in your car because they didn't have the early days with CDs. They didn't have CD players in the cars because they hadn't worked out the technology and how to stop them from skipping yet. Yeah,
too bouncy.
Yeah.
What I've been learning
cassette
about
adapter
it is,
to make the audio go through your car.
The cigarette lighter thing. Yeah. The cassette
the
thing.
Head.
Yeah. I've got one of those. I've still got one of those. I literally
You even had one that
of
went
those.
through your car electrical system and became a wireless thing for a while. You didn't see it very often, but before FM transmitters became a thing, you could actually use your electrical system as a transmitter to go into the car. It was a really weird thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is what I'm learning is that it was a success and it was a flop depending on the country. It was really big in Europe, UK, Germany, and Japan, but they couldn't give it away for free in America. And I assume
the original spec wasn't very good. They
similar.
may have improved it later, but the original spec made me stay away from it.
That
CD won over.
That whole period of time, you had to understand that whole period of time. There was so much digital development coming out. There was, like, if you even look at computers, right? They went from massive floppy disks to smaller floppy disks to smaller floppy disks to, hard drives to USB sticks. Like it was so many different storage formats, just like jammed into like a 10-year period. It was incredible how quickly they moved from. I remember having a VHS video recorder and then a DVD, then a Blu-ray, and then forget it. You just watch everything on your computer now. But that was only a pretty short period of time. And VHS probably, had the
3 to 5 year gaps
behind. But when you think about the change from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to, media type stuff.
So you never bought HD DVD?
Yeah.
Did you ever have that one?
What about SIP
I did,
drives?
SIP drives?
Oh, yeah.
I have one on my sampler right here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got one.
And that's funny to see, because now that we are trying to hold up to vintage synth technology, they all put their trust on the newest technology for file transfer and for communications and for MIDI transfer, like the TG connection from Yamaha.
Yep.
Originally parallel port from Apple, from Macintosh, I understand.
Like a PS2.
And
is it a PS2 thing?
It's not the same pinage. It's a 9-pin, same size as PS2, but it's a 9-pin without the block.
DIN 8. It's
plastic
called
block in
DIN
the
8.
middle.
It's a serial connector.
DIN 8, yeah.
Okay.
My DX7 too has a floppy drive on it, and it is not your standard format floppy. It's the smaller format. I think it's the double density discs.
The quicker disc?
No, they're still 1.4. Sorry, the 5.5 inch, but 3.5 inch. What am I saying? The smaller ones. But the format is not the 1.44 format, which a lot of things had. It was before that. It was the double density. I think it was 800K. Like 800K. So
my EMAX2 needs 800K, so I can't use the HDs with it.
Yeah. So even with those sort of things, you can't just go back and go, oh, look, I've got a floppy disk still here, and plug it in. It doesn't work.
Doesn't
really. Format it differently. Yeah. Hey, listen, we were talking about ARP today, and we've completely diverged into hi-fi and floppy disks and Andy Fletch.
ARP is good.
But ARP's been fun. Like we talked about, the 2500. We love that. We talked about the other things, the Odyssey, the 2600, and all the other things. So if you did come to the show and you came a bit late and you missed out on that, it's at the start. So don't be disappointed. It was there at the start. We talked about it for about an hour. So there's a bit of content there. We didn't get to do a lot of sound design. I kind of felt we should have done some more. I would have liked to play around with one of the things I was doing when Eddie was joining me earlier was I had a patch. I don't know I think I mangled it now because I changed the 2500, so it's probably not going to say the same.
It sounded very good.
But I had a patch where I had all of them playing at the same time. It's not going to work.
And the effects you have to plug back.
I do. I have to plug it back in here because I have effects.
Never underestimate the power effects. Powerful effects.
There is probably about, I'm trying to work out, 2, 4, 7 oscillators in that. and some effects. Can we go low? So yeah, unify, it's a good term. Unify your ARPs, put them all together, make one big fat ARP.
Yep.
And on that massive, huge disappointment of sound design, we should end the show.
Waggo's just said that we should give Dina Perlman a big shout out for the work she does with the Alan R. Perlman Foundation.
She does.
Doing grand work there.
She does
Indeed.
amazing stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Actually, if it wasn't for Dave Spears, I probably wouldn't have known about that. It's funny how we all sort of connect in different ways. And, you know, Dave went and did that, was it Bright Sparks or whatever it was, the
Bright
video
Sparks.
series?
The Bright Sparks thing, and
he actually interviewed Alan Perlman. And it was incredible. And, you know, from that point onwards, we kind of got to know Dana. So, yeah, definitely, good point.
The other thing that's worth
watch
mentioning,
Alex Ball
actually,
thing too.
Alex Ball's with Great Minds Think Alike, Andy. So Alex Ball's, it's about 2 hours long. The video he did about ARP, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant. I've watched it a couple of times. Really good videos.
Yeah, he does good videos.
Of course, all of the Bright Sparks documentaries are great, aren't they?
Yeah. So yeah, if you are thinking about like checking into the history of ARP, I reckon there's some really good places to go. Look at GeForce Music.
There.
GeForce Music is where Dave Spears comes from. So check that out. We need to get Dave on the show because he's actually someone I know. And
we need to thank him because he put it for free. He put it up for free.
Yeah.
It's actually GeForceSoftware.com.
GeForceSoftware.com, but also the YouTube channel GeForce Software.
Yeah.
And Alex Ball, of course. Alex Ball has been doing some really good videos lately too. So there was a good one on Roland.
That was good.
Yeah, the Avatar one was good. Yeah, yep. That's probably why he's got 100,000 followers or whatever it is.
The Terminator one is one of the best. It was really good.
Terminator ones are great, weren't they? Actually, you're dead right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's done some good stuff. He sort of just hits it on the head, doesn't he? That's the clever thing. Oh,
he hired Arnie Impersonator to do the voice for the.
It's chuff time. Here it is. Thanks, Wigoo.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
The sole contributor for today for the beer fund. Thanks very much, mate. Much appreciated. And also the channel members contribute as well, of course. You can never ever say no to them. We're going to finish the show on a happy note, wishing everyone the best of weekend to go. Go out and synth on. Make sure you press record. That's what I always say. Hope you enjoyed having a week off. I did. We're going to be back next week with something else to talk about. And say bye, everyone. See you later.
Everyone.
Everybody.
See you next week. Enjoy.
Thank you for coming. See you later.
Actually, I'm going to pause for a sec. Before I stop doing that, I'm going to give everyone a good plug. Let's do this. Now we'll do this.